Chapter 2350. Oh, who is he? The two shook their heads. You don't know? Mu Yin raised her eyebrows. Then what else do you know? If you don't know anything, then there's no point for me to keep you. The two were about to continue shaking their heads, were scared out of their wits. No, no, no. Don't kill us. Although we don't know the reason, but Home Master Kai knows. He's in the Raging Flame sect of the Qinyan world. We can take you to him. Mu Yin didn't look at the two who were scared out of their wits, but looked at Bai Yang and the youth. Bai Yang looked at Mu Yin in a daze, his eyes filled with confusion and thought. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and exclaimed, You're the one in the forest that day. In reality, that incident happened a long time ago. At that time, Bai Yang's attention was focused on Hua, Bue, and Qinjiu, and he didn't look at Mu Yan's appearance. So, he didn't recognize her at first. But Mu Yan's appearance was too beautiful, and an ordinary person would have a deep impression of her with just a glance. So, when Mu Yan approached, Bai Yang finally remembered. Aren't you a disciple of the Silver Feather Palace? Why are you in the Qinyan world? Hearing the words Silver Feather Palace, Bai Yang's expression darkened. He told her how he wanted to save Hua Bue, but was used as a shield by Hua Bue and got his arm bitten off. Bai Yang gave a self-deprecating, bitter smile. My talent was not good, and my cultivation base was low. After losing an arm, I became even more useless. So, the Silver Feather Palace sent me back to the Bai family. But the Bai family, Bai Yang's parents had passed away long ago. He was able to enter the Silver Feather Palace because his father had helped the deputy palace master of the Silver Feather Palace. The Bai family treated him differently because he was a disciple of the Silver Feather Palace. Once he was cooked, those people immediately changed their attitude and banished him from the Bai family. Bai Yang didn't know what happened. He didn't want others to know about this. And he and the girl in front of him were just acquaintances. But under her questioning, he unknowingly said what he had hidden in his heart for a long time. After leaving the Bai family, I had nowhere to go. All my belongings were robbed, and I was seriously injured. I thought I was going to die. Bai Yang remembered himself lying in a pile of coal garbage at that time. A putrid stench entered their nostrils bit by bit. Extreme pain and despair slowly bred hatred in their hearts. Ever since he was young, his parents had taught him to be kind to others and to be open and above board. He wanted to be a good person. He was honest and kind. He saved his fellow disciples, but what did he get in return? But just as Bai Yang's life was being taken away bit by bit, and his heart was being corroded by hatred, someone passed by and saved him. That person is Elder Zhou of the Raging Flame sect. A grateful smile appeared on Bai Yang's face. Not only did Elder Zhou take me in, he didn't mind the fact that I lost an arm, and he even taught me his array techniques. At this point, tears suddenly flowed from his eyes, and he looked at Zhang Quan and Wang Fei with hatred. But these bastards are unwilling to let such a good person go. Before Bai Yang could finish, the young man next to him was already sobbing. It's me who hurt Elder Zhou. Mr. Zhou died to protect me. And my mom, she still hasn't come back. Boo-hoo. Chapter 2351. As the youth wept, he suddenly trembled and fell heavily. His entire body trembled violently, frost forming on his eyebrows and hair. Little Shun, are you all right? Bai Yang rushed over nervously. Are you sick again? Medicine. You have to take your medicine immediately. He touched it, and his expression changed. Not good. There's no more spirit fire pills. Mine's mind spun with the words, Little Shun, as she slowly walked over to the youth and grabbed his hand to feel his pulse. As soon as the youth's pulse appeared before her eyes, she knew that her suspicions were confirmed. Mommy, don't leave Shun or don't. The youth trembled as he cried. Tears flowed down from his eyes, but they immediately froze into frost. He looked indescribably pitiful. Miss, please save little Shun. Just one spirit fire pill will be enough. Bai Yang begged. Mayan shook her head. He was hit by an ice attack for a leaving aperture stage cultivator. The cold poison has accumulated in his body, and ordinary medicine can't remove it. Even a spirit fire pill can only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. Bai Yong was about to say something, but Mayan smiled reassuringly at him. But I have a way to completely cure him. With that, she flipped her wrist, and a fiery red spirit herb that looked like both a flower and a leaf appeared in her palm. The youth's eyes widened at the sight of the spirit herb. Even though his body was suffering from the cold poison, he still screamed, "Fire orchid!" Mommy said that the fire orchid can only be found in the wood fern's secret realm. The youth stared at Mayan. "You? How did you get a fire orchid? Have you been to the wood fern's secret realm?" He stretched out his ice-cold hands and tugged at Mayan's sleeves. Did you see a woman in the secret realm? Mayan didn't wait for the youth to finish, whispering, "She's called Chung Mei. She's your mommy, right?" "You know my mommy? You really know my mommy?" The youth jumped up in excitement, his eyes shining brightly. "Where's mommy now? Did you see her?" Mayan's eyes flashed with pity, her voice softening. "Your mommy told me to bring this fire orchid to you." "What about my mommy?" "My mom. I'll first use the fire leaf orchid to suppress your cold poison. Then I'll tell you, okay?" The youth's eyes were filled with anxiety, but the cold poison was acting up, making it difficult for him to even breathe. His entire body was stiff and cold, and his hearing and vision were gradually fading. In the end, he has no choice but to give up asking about Chung Mei's whereabouts and accept Mayan's treatment. Bai Yong stared blankly at Mu Yin as she took out a pot and placed the fire leaf orchid inside. Then, she added a lot of elixirs into the pot. This was clearly not alchemy. Su Qing and Bai Yong were dumbfounded. The fire orchid is extremely precious. How could Mayan casually cook it as soup? Soon, a bowl of thick soup was boiled out. Mu Yin directly poured it down the youth's throat. The sour and bitter taste made the youth frown and almost vomit the medicine out. However, a few of his acupuncture points were sealed by Mayan, and he was unable to budge. Bai Yong looked at the young man's suffering and paced around anxiously. He wanted to stop and help, but he did not dare to speak. However, after a quarter of an hour, the hoarfrost on the youth's body began to recede. His ice-cold body gradually warmed up. He opened his eyes in a daze and tried to circulate his spiritual power. He discovered that his dantian no longer felt as if it was frozen solid. Chapter 2352. Genius? 1 second, remember, I can circulate my spiritual power. I can finally circulate my spiritual power again. The youngster excitedly jumps up from the ground and fiercely punches. A fireball ruthlessly smashes into the ground along with his fist. The air is filled with leaping fire elements and spiritual power fluctuations. Mu Yin inexplicably feels that this kind of fluctuation is somewhat familiar. The youngster rushes over and hugs Bai Yong, crying and laughing at the same time. "Brother Bai Yong, did you see that? I can cultivate the cold poison in my body has been cured. I'm finally not a good-for-nothing. In the future, I can also protect you." Bai Yong is bewildered by the youngster's crying. He keeps shouting, "That's great, little Shun, that's great." When the two of them are done crying, they both turn to Mu Yin and thank her. The youngster directly falls to his knees and says in a hoarse voice, "Many thanks to Senior for saving my life. May I ask for Senior's great name? In the future, if there's anything you need me to do, I will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation." They can't tell Mu Yan's age and cultivation, but it's obvious that her strength is far stronger than theirs, even stronger than Zhang Quan and Wang Fei, who are at the core formation stage. So the youngster thinks that she's already a very old senior, and that she's only using a technique to preserve her youth because of her profound cultivation. Mu Yin gently shakes her head. "I said, the fire orchid was picked by your mother at the cost of her life. I'm just giving it to you on her behalf." The youngster stares blankly at first. Then his eyes suddenly widen, and his body uncontrollably trembles. "You mean my mother, my mother? She's already..." Mu Yin gently nods. "No, I don't believe it. Mother said that she wouldn't leave me. You lied to me. You lied to me." He lunges at Mu Yin like a madman. "My mother must still be alive. Did you hide her? Did you?" "Little Shun, you can't." However, the youngster's hand hasn't even touched Mu Yin when he's thrown over his shoulder and ruthlessly to the ground. Muyin steps on his chest and looks down at him from above. Her eyes are cold. Your mama went through countless hardships and dangers and even sacrificed her life to find the fire orchid for you. She did this to let you live well, and not to let you be like a coward who only knows how to give up on yourself and escape from reality. Tears flowed down the cheeks of the young man. He could not hold it in any longer and cried bitterly. He kept shouting, "Mummy, Mummy." This time, Mu Yin and Bai Yang didn't say anything. They just let him vent as much as he wanted. When the youngster's crying stops, he looks at Mayan with reddened eyes. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have vented my anger on you. Senior, may I ask where my mother's body is? Is she buried in the Woodfern's secret realm?" Mu Yin shook her head and said, "I brought Cheng Mei's body out of the secret plane and buried it in the graveyard at the back of the Starry School. If you want, you can pay your respects at any time." The youth's eyes, which had been washed by water, suddenly lit up. He knelt before Mu Yin again, this time even more sincerely than when Mu Yin had saved him. "Benefactor, please tell me your name. I will never forget your great kindness to my mother and I, Chong Shun, for the rest of my life. If there's a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you." However, Mu Yin did not hear the rest of his words. She was stunned for a moment. "What did you say your name was? What's your surname?" "This lowly one's surname is Chong, and his name is Chong Shun." Chapter 2353. Raging Flame School. Chong Shun. He's actually a spirit cultivator. Looking at his spiritual power fluctuations, it should be related to the Raging Flame School. Mu Yan's eyes suddenly widen. She finally remembers why the Raging Flame School sounds familiar to her. In the Yinwu continent, when Chong Yu died in order to save her, the person who killed him once said those words. She only knew at that time. The man she rescued from the Wan Renku, the captain of the ink camp, the taciturn man who was willing to die for her, wasn't someone from the Yinwu continent. He came from the Xiojin continent and was a spirit cultivator. And the sect he belonged to on the Xiojin continent was precisely the Raging Flame School. Mu Yan's hands, hanging at her sides, couldn't stop trembling. Before her eyes, it seems like the scene of Chong Yu covered in blood, the dying lamp in her arms. In her ears, it seems like Chong Yu's dying words are still echoing. "Miss, I don't care what my past is. I only know that from the moment you took me away from Wan Renku as Chong Yu, you were everything to me. I'm willing to give everything to keep you safe for even a moment." Since then, Mu Yan's heart has been filled with guilt towards Chong Yu. She also thought that in this life, she would never have the chance to repay his kindness of protecting her. However, the affairs of the world are so unpredictable. Perhaps Chong Yu's spirit in heaven is giving her the opportunity to repay him. Mu Yin takes a deep breath, holding Chong Shun's shoulder, and says in a hoarse voice, "Do you know Chong Yu?" Chong Shun stares blankly. After a long while, he murmurs, "Chong Yu Gij, you. How do you know my Gij's name? He died a long time ago, when I was very, very young." Mu Yan's heart suddenly trembles, and she is about to ask in detail. Su Qing suddenly shouts from the side, "Great God, June, it's not good. Those two thieves are running away." Mu Yin turns her head to look, and sure enough, she sees that Zhang Quan and Wang Fei have broken the ropes at some point. Like the wind and lightning, they flee in a sorry state towards the depths of the jungle. Neither of them can fly on a sword, but they are still core formation cultivators. That speed is extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they have almost disappeared into the jungle. "Not good." Bai Yang and Chang Shun both exclaimed, "They'll definitely inform Home Master Kai when they get back. Even the headquarters of Blazing Flame School will send people over." The corner of Mu Yan's mouth hooks up, and there's not the slightest bit of anxiety on her face. With a flick of his wrist, the Tian Mo Chin appears. The sound of the zither rang out like a powerful army. In the blink of an eye, the two of them let out a blood-curdling scream and fell from the treetops. Mu Yan wasn't in a hurry at all. She brought Bai Yang and the others with her and slowly walked up to the two. "It seems like you really want to die." Zhang Quan and Wang Fei's faces were ashen as they shook their heads repeatedly. "No, don't kill us. We won't dare to do it again. We're willing to bring you to Hall, Master Kai. Mayan sneered at Bai Yang and said slowly, Do you know the way to the Raging Flame Gate? Bai Yang nodded blankly. Do you know the Hall Master Kai they are talking about? Bai Yang nodded again. Mayan chuckles and looks at Zhang Quan and Wang Fei. You see, it seems like you don't need to lead the way. Moreover, you've already wasted the opportunity one gave you. Zhang Quan's face was filled with alarm and fear, and he couldn't help but curse. You can't kill us. If you kill us, you will thoroughly offend the Raging Flame School. Our master is an expert at the leaving aperture stage. If you offend our Raging Flame School, you won't have a good end. Chapter 2354. Vicious Reputation. Female Demon. Please let go. 1. Chang Shun's face paled. He grabbed Mu Yan's hand and said in a trembling voice, The current head of the Raging Flame School, Yu Guanchuan, has a very high cultivation. He's a despicable person who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Whoever offends him, he'll destroy their family and kill them, and they'll die without a burial place. Senior, please don't worry about us, or you'll be implicated by us. Zhang Quan and Wang Fei couldn't help but look proud. Bitch, did you hear that? You'll die a horrible death if you offend the Raging Flame School. If you know what's good for you, let us go immediately. When the time comes, we'll beg the head of the school. Maybe he'll see you and not punish you, but make you his concubine. Zhang Quan's words filled Bai Yang and Chang Shun with indignation. Su Qing couldn't help but smirk, almost laughing out loud. Is this guy an idiot? A mere head of the Raging Flame School wants God Jun to be his concubine? Doesn't he know that the Heaven Jian sect, which was much stronger than the Raging Flame School, was almost destroyed by God Jun? Out-of-body stage. So what if he's in the out-of-body stage? As if God Jun didn't kill an out-of-body stage cultivator in the Woodfern's secret realm. Su Qing couldn't help but laugh at the thought. Zhang Quan and Wang Fei were originally enjoying Bai Yang and Chang Shun's panicked expressions, feeling proud and relieved. They were waiting for Mu Yin to release them and apologize to them. Now that they saw Su Qing laughing, they couldn't help but say angrily, What are you laughing at? Zhang Quan and Wang Fei were both golden core cultivators. Their cultivation levels were much higher than Su Qing's. But Su Qing looked down at them with contempt. I'm laughing at you frogs in a well. Don't you know who you've offended? What a joke. Zhang Quan sneered. She's just a bitch. At most, she's a peak golden core cultivator. Maybe she's stronger than us, but against our head, she can only be crushed. Not to mention the sect master, even Hall Master Kai, who is currently in charge of the Azure Cloud world, was also a nascent soul expert. Who do you think you are? A mere golden core cultivator wants to compete with the Raging Flame School? Zhang Quan was arrogant, but Wang Fei was much calmer than him. When he saw that Mu Yin was still so relaxed after hearing about the Raging Flame School strength, he couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive. Miss, may I know your name? Which sect did he come from? If you're from the Purple Cloud Realm, you might have some connections with my Raging Flame sect. We're fellow cultivators, so there's no need for us to become enemies because of a few lowly slaves. Wang Fei was worried that Mu Yin had a family background and that she might even be a disciple of a sect in the Ziyun realm. Otherwise, how could this young girl be so arrogant? She clearly knew their identity and background, yet she still casually shouted to kill them. The corners of Mayan's mouth slowly raised into an evil arc, unhurriedly saying, No, my sect is in the Blue Cloud world. Hearing this, Wang Fei heaved a sigh of relief. Zhang Quan laughed wildly. A lowly servant from the Blue Cloud world dares to be so arrogant in front of my Raging Flame sect. Before his laughter died away, he heard Mu Yin slowly spit out the second half of the sentence. My name is Zhu Mu Yin, and I come from the Green Cloud world Xiaoyao School. The laughter came to an abrupt end. Zhang Quan's arrogant expression froze on his face in an instant. Wang Fei slightly opened his mouth, the expression on his face between relaxation, disdain, shock, and bewilderment. Then, as his brain slowly digested this information, his face completely distorted, turning into extreme fright and disbelief. Chapter 2355. Infamous. Female Devil. Please let me go too, while you're Jun Mayan? The alluring killer Lord Mayan. Zhang Quan and Wang Fei were both scared out of their wits. Even Bai Yang and Chang Shun widened their eyes. Chang Shun's knees buckled, and he almost fell to the ground. You're Jun Mayan. No, impossible. How could you be Jun Mayan? Wang Fei shook his head desperately, but the description of the alluring killer lord in his mind became clearer and clearer. The youthful face of a young girl, the beauty that could topple cities, the coldness and ruthlessness of a one-hit kill. In battle, she always had a guqin or a crystal-clear sword in her hand. It matched. All the characteristics matched up. The girl in front of him was really the female demon, Jun Mayan. Zhang Quan, who had been insolent a moment ago, was now scared out of his wits, his entire body trembling. His bound hands kept rubbing against the ground, trying to crawl back. Wang Fei's lips trembled for a long time before he could speak. God, Jun, seeing their appearance, Mu Yin raises her eyebrows in surprise. Such a big reaction? Forget about the people from the Qingyun and Azure realms. The unfettered seven demons. The unfettered seven's reputation had indeed spread far and wide. This could be seen on their way back to the Starry School. But in the Purple Cloud realm, their reputation shouldn't have spread far and wide. Only those who had watched the Deer Cry Grand Banquet and the cultivators of Divine Elephant City should have heard of them. Mu Yin had no idea of the terrifying achievements of the unfettered three demons in the Woodfern's secret realm. They had already swept through the entire Purple Cloud realm like a hurricane. With just the three of them, they had completely overturned the Heaven Jian sect. They had even killed the heir of the Shui clan, a first-rate clan of the southern continent. But they had escaped safely. The Heaven Jian sect had fallen from a second-rate clan to a third-rate clan overnight. The Shui clan had lost their heir, but they had swallowed it down and not caused trouble for them. Since the Woodfern's secret realm's appearance, they had never seen or even heard of such a feat. The cultivators who had survived the Woodfern's secret realm had witnessed how Mu Yin had single-handedly killed an astral projection cultivator. The disciples of the Heaven Jian sect and the Shui family, who had once chased after her, were all scared witless. Moreover, her titles of fatally beautiful killing god and she-devil had spread like wildfire. This was especially true for those second- and third-rate sects that were weaker than the Heaven Jian sect. They had taught their disciples that they could offend anyone but the Xiao Yao sect. The Raging Flame School was also a third-rate school in the Ziyun realm. How could they not know Mayan's name? No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Zhang Quan suddenly screamed. Ignoring the restraints on his hands, he turned around and ran. However, before he could take 2 steps, he heard the sound of a zither. Countless swords pierced through his body, causing him to fall stiffly to the ground. Wang Fei was so scared that he fell to his knees and kowtowed to Mu Yin. God Jun, please spare my life. God Jun, please spare my life. This lowly one is willing to lead the way for you. This lowly one is willing to serve you faithfully. Please spare this lowly one's life. Seeing that his head was covered in blood and his face was covered in tears and snot, Mu Yin was too embarrassed to kill him. All right, if you want to lead the way so badly, then lead the way. Purple Cloud Realm, Phoenix Heavenly Mountain Range, next to the Refining God Cliff. There was a flash of light, and 2 figures staggered out of thin air. Before they could steady themselves, a bolt of purple lightning fell from the sky. Chapter 2356. She Musician Remnant. She's alive. Just kill her. The woman in front screams and falls to the ground, her body twitching uncontrollably. Behind her is a veiled woman, her face pale and weak. These 2 are Lung Qingwan and her disciple, who came to Xiozhen from the Xioshan continent through the space barrier. They see Lung Yuexia being punished by the Divine Thunder because she doesn't have a holy artifact to protect her. Lung Qingwan isn't worried. Instead, she shows a carefree expression, but she quickly restrains it. She puts on a concerned expression and helps Lung Qingwan up. Master, are you okay? Lung Yuexia wipes the blood from the corner of her mouth and slowly stands up. Her gaze sweeps around. Her eyes flash with extreme disgust. Is this the Xiozhen continent, the lower realm where ants stay. Sure enough, the spiritual energy is mixed, and there isn't even the slightest bit of immortal energy. She doesn't want to stay a moment longer in this damn place. Master, what should we do next? Lung Qingwan asks cautiously. Lung Yuexia looks at her coldly. Idiot, do you still need to ask? Naturally, we have to determine whether that slut from the god musicians is dead or alive. As the two are talking, they suddenly hear footsteps coming from not far away. I really didn't expect that Heaven Jin sect would be completely annihilated in this Woodfern secret realm expedition, and at the hands of a gold core stage woman at that. Heaven Jin sect suffered such a big loss. Are they willing to let it go? So what if they're unwilling to let it go? I heard that Jun Mayan has the support of a crossing tribulation stage expert. Even the Shuef family's heir doesn't dare to act rashly. What can Heaven Jin sect do? In Lung Yuexia's eyes, the people of Xiozhen continent are the same as ants that she despises and loathes. She originally planned to kill them with a wave of her hand. Hearing their conversation, her pupils can't help but shrink. Lung Qingwan exclaims, Master, it's that slut. That slut's name is Jun Mayan. She's still alive. She's really still alive. Her voice is sharp and shrill, filled with anger and shock. How is this possible? She saw with her own eyes that the slut was struck to death by the divine thunder. Even she was injured. Why was she still alive? The corner of Lung Yuexia's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. What are you shouting for? You're just a piece of trash who can't do anything right. Living is living. He's just an ant from the lower realm. As long as he's alive, we could just kill him later. Lung Qingwan's eyes lit up when she heard Lung Yuexia's tone. Master, you're going to do it yourself. Lung Yuexia presses her still aching chest, but she is determined. The remnants of the Shan musicians, I will never allow them to live another day. She knows better than anyone else how tenacious and difficult it is to kill the Shan musicians. As long as they were given the slightest chance, they would rise from the ashes. At that time, Lung Qingwan, that idiot, wasn't able to get rid of this person because she was too careless and alerted the enemy. She would not make such a mistake. Even though her injuries had yet to fully recover, she had to give that lowly servant a thunderous blow to eliminate any future troubles. Lung Qingwan clenched her fists in excitement. As long as Jun Mayan is dead, she would be the only one left with such a peerless face. At that time, Jun Shang would certainly fall in love with her. No. She could make proper arrangements and assume Jun Mayan's identity. When she and Jun Shang cook rice and even give birth to a child, would she still be afraid that she wouldn't be able to obtain the identity of the mistress of the polar domain? Chapter 2357. Shin Musician Remnant. Alive, we can just kill them too, asking for votes, suppressing the greed and desire at her heart. Lung Qingwan says, but the Xiozhen continent is so big. Where are we going to find that slut? Lung Yuexia's line of sight looks at the male cultivators who have heard the commotion and come forward, the corners of her mouth revealing a grim smile. A quarter of an hour later, the eyes of those male cultivators turn white, lying on the ground, already covered with cuts and bruises. If there was a doctor here, he would be able to tell at a glance. These two people have been forcibly soul-searched, their souls directly crushed. That's why they died. Lung Yuexia kicks them away in disgust, saying in a low voice, You go to the Bloodsword Gate first and start making arrangements according to our agreement. I'll go to the Blue Cloud World now and kill that slut. As for how to find people in the Blue Cloud World, as long as she searches their souls one by one, she'll be able to find that slut's whereabouts. In their eyes, the people of the Xiozhen continent are nothing more than livestock and ants that they can trample and abuse at will. They don't need to care about their lives. Yes, master. Thinking of their plan, thinking that Jun Shang will soon be infatuated with her. Lung Qingwan's excited voice trembles. Disciple here wishes master a speedy success. When Disciple and Jun Shang tie the knot and enter the polar domain, it will also be the day when Tian Yimen will regain its glory. Blue Cloud World, Raging Flame Gate. In the main hall, singing and dancing celebrate peace. From time to time, you can hear the laughter from inside, as well as the moans and cries of women. Kai Ji sits on the high seat, his hands rubbing the slender waist of a beautiful female cultivator, casually rubbing her body. That female cultivator is obviously unwilling, but because of fear, she doesn't dare to resist. The people sitting below are even more absurd than Kai Ji. Some people have already directly pressed people to the ground, ignoring the female cultivator's cries for mercy, and have already begun to do that improper thing. The others were gulping down wine while enjoying the service of the beautiful female cultivators beside them. Hall Master, this is the first time I know that in this blue cloud world, we can actually live such a happy life like a deity. Ah, yes, yes. In a purple cloud realm, there are people stronger than us everywhere. As long as we go out, we have to live with our tails between our legs. But in this azure cloud world, it is the complete opposite. Such beautiful women, we can play with as many as we want. When those sex and aristocratic families saw us, which one of them didn't offer up their most valuable treasures with both hands? Huh, didn't you see how the old man from the Zhang family fawned over us? The moment he heard that we were from the purple cloud realm, he immediately offered his granddaughter to us. In my opinion, the original few female cultivators of the Raging Flame School are not bad. They are all very tender. I was too excited yesterday and accidentally broke one of them. Today, I must take it easy and play with them for at least 2 more days. Ha ha ha! The female cultivator, who was pouring wine for the few of them, could not help but tremble and accidentally poured the wine in her hand onto a fat male cultivator. The female cultivator was so scared that her face turned pale, and she said in a trembling voice, I didn't mean it, my lord. I'll wipe it for you, what? How could he give it to her just by wiping it? Squat down now and lick it clean for me. The place where the wine was wet happened to be on her crotch. The female cultivator's face was deathly pale, and she retreated again and again. This time, she finally angered the fat male cultivator. He ruthlessly kicked the female cultivator to the ground. I give you face, but you don't want it. It is your honor that I let you lick. Since you want to die, come, drag this slut away and feed her to the exploding flaming tiger outside. Sorry, the update at midnight will continue to be delayed. Recently, the workload has been a bit heavy. I'll try to adjust it back this week. Chapter 2358. A shameless face, however. The Heaven Jian sect, which was so powerful in the Purple Cloud realm, had been easily destroyed by 3 people. The lofty leaving aperture realm cultivator in their hearts was killed mercilessly by a young lady. One could imagine how much this news shocked the people of the Raging Flame sect. But if it was just shock, it would have been fine. But now they had provoked the demoness who destroyed the Heaven Jian sect. For a moment, the people of the Raging Flame sect were scared out of their wits. They wished they could pass out immediately. The people of the Qingyun realm were overjoyed. One by one, they knelt on the ground, their voices choked with joy. God Jun has come to save us. God Jun, you must punish these beasts for us. My junior sister was tortured to death by them. God Jun, I am from the Chun family of the Qingyun realm. My whole family admires you. Please send me home, great God Jun. And me, I am from the Li family. My family was persecuted by the Raging Flame sect. My father was seriously injured. Please save us and avenge us. Tearful complaints, accompanied by a bellyful of hatred and grievances, echoed in the hall. Bai Yang and Chang Xinlian remembered their own experience. Their eyes reddened. However, Mu Yin expressionlessly swept his gaze over everyone present and said in a deep voice, I am not here to save you, nor am I here to avenge you. In this world, don't think about relying on others. Instead of begging for redemption, it is better to find a way to become stronger. Others can save you for a while, but they can't save you forever. She had seen the scene in the hall just now. These people were humiliated, abused, and enslaved. But they only obeyed and obeyed. They didn't even have the slightest consciousness of resistance, even if resistance could lead to death. But in this world where the strong preyed on the weak, they should understand that if they didn't have the courage to fight against the heavens, They could only hide their sharpness and live, instead of crying and waiting for others to save them when they were in trouble. How can you do this? A few female cultivators shouted unwillingly. We worship you as our god. We worship you as our idol. You are the pride of our blue cloud world. Isn't it natural for you to save us? That's right. If you're really looking out for us, you should give us some medicinal pills and magical equipment to help us become stronger, shouldn't you? The words of these female cultivators made Su Qing roll his eyes. Even Bai Yang and Chang Shun could not help but look disgusted. But there were also a few people who disagreed, especially the female cultivator who was just dragged out to be fed to the explosive flaming tiger. It was only because of Mu Yan's timely rescue that she managed to escape from the tiger's jaws. Her heart was filled with gratitude and reverence for Mu Yan. She grabbed her skirt with both hands, mustered up her courage, and loudly said, "But Juno, Seth doesn't have any obligation to help us. We should be grateful that he can save our lives." Xiao Huan is right. Jun Mo Xie has already saved us by punishing these evil people. How can we ask for more? However, those female cultivators said as if it was a matter of course. Jun Muyin killed the higher-ups of the Raging Flame School, which is equal to offending the entire Raging Flame School. If she doesn't deal with the aftermath, we will be implicated. What's more, we worship her so much, we see her as our idol. How could she not help us? Su Qing was so angry at the shameless faces of these women that his whole body trembled. Chapter 23:59. From now on, you will follow me. He can't help but reflect on himself. When he led the whole Guei sect to rob the Xiaoyao sect, was it also this disgusting? He steps forward and is about to speak, but is stopped by Mu Yan. Mu Yan doesn't even look at the female cultivators. Instead, she turns her wrist, and the Tian Mo Qin appears in her hand. Her slender, jade-like fingers gently pluck the strings, as the melodious sound of the Qin reverberates in the room. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the people in the hall begin to faint, falling into a deep sleep. But strangely, some people close their eyes, revealing a carefree and sweet smile on their faces. Some people close their eyes, revealing a frightened and pained expression. As for the disciples of the Raging Flame School, including Kai Ji, their faces are all distorted, their bodies convulsing and trembling. The most frightening thing is that their faces begin to age in a short period of time. Their hair and teeth fall out little by little. Wrinkles cover their faces. The spiritual power around their bodies becomes thinner and thinner, and their breathing becomes more and more rapid, like broken bellows. In the entire hall, apart from Mu Yan, only Su Qing, Bai Yang, and Chang Shun are still awake. The three look at the scene of hell and heaven intertwining before them, and then look at the beautiful girl playing the Qin leisurely. They can't help but shiver. Su Qing suddenly feels that the great god Jun and the Xiaoyao sect were too merciful in punishing him. Jun, great god Jun, what's wrong with him? Changshan can't help but ask. Mu Yan stops playing the Qin, turns to look at Changshun, and reaches out to touch his head. Don't call me great god Jun. Call me sister, or like your brother. Call me Mississippi. Changshan stares at her, his eyes slowly becoming misty. Miss by Yang Gij, and I have no relatives. Can we follow you in the future? Bai Yang is also looking at Mu Yan eagerly. Mu Yan's voice is soft. You are Chang Yu's only relative in this world. Of course, I can't leave you alone. When things here are over, I will take you to see your brother's brothers. Later, you'll be with them. They will take care of you, protect you, and help you become stronger. My brother's brothers? Chang Shun's eyes are bright. Miss, then I won't be alone in the future. Mu Yan smiles gently and nods. She then looked at Bai Yang. Bai Yang, your talent in arrays is the highest I've ever seen. Are you willing to follow me? Me? Talented in arrays? Bai Yang pointed a finger at himself in disbelief. Jun Mo Xie, are you sure you're not mistaken? My cultivation is only at the second stage of abstinence, and I'm a cripple with a broken arm. No, cultivation and talent in formations are two different things. Mayan shakes her head. It's precisely because your cultivation is so low that you're even missing a hand. yet you're able to refine such a unique array disc. That's why I say that your talent in arrays is unparalleled. I will send you to a place where you can use your talents and work for me in the future. Are you willing? Bai Yang's lips were trembling with excitement, but he still glanced at Changshun. Is she with little Shun? Changshun also looked over nervously. It was obvious that he did not want to be separated from Big Brother Bai Yang at all. Mu Yin couldn't help but laugh. Of course. From now on, you should address me like Changshun does. Don't call me God Jun, yes, miss. Bai Yang cheered and happily hugged Changshun. Chapter 2360. Jun Mayan, are you a devil? Asking for votes. Changshun shows his first sincere smile after hearing the news of Chang Mei's death. The way the two of them were cheering and jumping for joy was exactly like children. Mu Yin shakes her head and laughs. Su Qing is full of envy. It's obvious that God Jun has taken a liking to these two people and accepted them as his own people. He doesn't know where God Jun will arrange for them, but in any case, the future of these two people will be limitless. Mu Yin naturally wants to arrange for Changshun and Bai Yang to join the Nether Flame Army. Changshun is Qian Yu's only relative. Mu Yin has wronged Qian Yu, and she wants to compensate Changshun. And Bai Yang's talent in arrays is a talent that the everlasting camp urgently needs. Moreover, this young man is kind-hearted and knows how to repay kindness. For a promise, a little kindness, he doesn't hesitate to sacrifice his life. It's Jun Mayan's luck that the Nether Flame Army can recruit such a person. Right at this moment, a series of pa-pa-pa sounds began to come from the main hall. Su Qing and the others look over and see that the heads of the Raging Flame School disciples have exploded. In the blink of an eye, Kai Ji is the only living disciple of the Raging Flame School. God Jun, this is... Mu Yin smiles. It's nothing, just letting them experience hundreds and thousands of nightmarish reincarnations in a dream. The vitality in their bodies is exhausted little by little, and their souls are gradually gnawed away. Finally, they can't bear the torture and choose to self-destruct. Of course, because their spiritual power and profound qi have been exhausted. Even if they self-destruct, it won't set off any storm. At most, their brains will splatter everywhere. After her, Shun Musician rose to the 7th level. Her, floating like a dream, has also been upgraded. Under the cover of the sound of the zither, as long as the floating like a dream is under the effect of the floating like a dream, the things that leave a deep impression in their memories will be exposed to Mu Yin. Almost at the moment when floating like a dream is launched, she knows what kind of heartless evil these people have done. Therefore, Mu Yin did not hesitate to punish these people, letting them experience the pain that others have endured in their nightmares, and then die miserably in despair. With the self-destruction of the Raging Flame School disciples, the others in the hall also woke up. Their reactions were also different. The female cultivator named Xiao Huan and the people around her were pleasantly surprised. They had just had a beautiful dream, and when they woke up, they found that not only were their injuries healed, but their cultivation had also improved. On the other hand, the female cultivators who were aggressive towards Mu Yin were all panicking and uneasy. They looked at Mu Yin as if they were looking at a devil. Mu Yin raised the corner of her lips and looked at them with a smile that was not a smile. How about it? Do you still need me to save you now? No, don't. We won't do it again. Demon King. No. Great God Jun, spare my life. Spare my life? Scared witless, these people ran out of the place. Just now, those righteous words, feeling that it was a matter of course for Mu Yin to help them, have long since vanished. They probably never wanted to see the god they worshipped ever again. Mu Yin didn't bother with them anymore. She cleaned up the hall. In the end, only a half-dead Kai Ji was left. As the sound of the zither rang out, Kai Ji's body twitched violently, and he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing that came into view was a face that was as beautiful as frost and snow, a face that could outshine the moon and put flowers to shame. Ayo. I've received a piece of good news. The exhausted Ozzy desperately wrote one more chapter. I thank all the readers for their support and love for Ozzy. I love you guys, mua mua. Chapter 2361. From now on, you will follow me. He can't help but reflect on himself. When he led the whole Gue sect to rob the Xiaoyao sect, was it also this disgusting? He steps forward and is about to speak, but is stopped by Mu Yan. Mu Yan doesn't even look at the female cultivators. Instead, she turns her wrist, and the Tian Mo Qin appears in her hand. Her slender, jade-like fingers gently pluck the strings, as the melodious sound of the Qin reverberates in the room. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the people in the hall begin to faint, falling into a deep sleep. But strangely, some people close their eyes, revealing a carefree and sweet smile on their faces. Some people close their eyes, revealing a frightened and pained expression. As for the disciples of the Raging Flame School, including Kai Ji, their faces are all distorted, their bodies convulsing and trembling. The most frightening thing is that their faces begin to age in a short period of time. Their hair and teeth fall out little by little. Wrinkles cover their faces, the spiritual power around their bodies becomes thinner and thinner, and their breathing becomes more and more rapid, like broken bellows. In the entire hall, apart from Mu Yan, only Su Qing, Bai Yang, and Changshun are still awake. The three look at the scene of hell and heaven intertwining before them, and then look at the beautiful girl playing the Qin leisurely. They can't help but shudder. Su Qing suddenly feels that the great god Jun and the Xiaoyao sect were too merciful in punishing him. Jun, great god Jun, what's wrong with him? Changshun can't help but ask. Mu Yan stops playing the Qin, turns to look at Changshun, and reaches out to touch his head. Don't call me great god Jun, call me sister, or like your brother, call me Mississippi. Changshun stares at her, his eyes slowly becoming misty. Miss Bayang Gij, and I have no relatives. Can we follow you in the future? Bayang is also looking at Mu Yan eagerly. Mu Yan's voice is soft. You are Chang Yu's only relative in this world. Of course, I can't leave you alone. When things here are over, I will take you to see your brother's brothers. Later, you will be with them. They will take care of you, protect you, and help you become stronger. My brother's brothers? Changshun's eyes are bright. Miss, then I won't be alone in the future. Mu Yan smiles gently and nods. She then looked at Bai Yang. Bai Yang, your talent in arrays is the highest I've ever seen. Are you willing to follow me? Me? Talented in arrays? Bai Yang pointed a finger at himself in disbelief. Jun Mo Xie, are you sure you're not mistaken? My cultivation is only at the second stage of abstinence, and I'm a cripple with a broken arm. No, cultivation and talent in formations are two different things. Mayan shakes her head. It's precisely because your cultivation is so low that you're even missing a hand, yet you're able to refine such a unique array disc. That's why I say that your talent in arrays is unparalleled. I will send you to a place where you can use your talents and work for me in the future. Are you willing? Bai Yang's lips were trembling with excitement, but he still glanced at Changshun. Is she with little Shun? Changshun also looked over nervously. It was obvious that he did not want to be separated from Big Brother Bai Yang at all. Mu Yan couldn't help but laugh. Of course. From now on, you should address me like Changshun does. Don't call me God Jun, yes, miss. Bai Yang cheered and happily hugged Changshun. /TXD/83530/ _ Baidu search for the UC Book League website, allowing you to experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2362. Jun Mayan, are you a devil? Asking for votes. Changshun shows his first sincere smile after hearing the news of Chang Mei's death. The way the two of them were cheering and jumping for joy was exactly like children. Mu Yan shakes her head and laughs. Su Qing's face was full of envy. It was obvious that Jun Mo Xie had taken a liking to these two, and had taken them in as his own people. He doesn't know where God Jun will arrange for them, but in any case, the future of these two people will be limitless. Mu Yan naturally wants to arrange for Changshun and Bai Yang to join the Nether Flame Army. Changshun is Qian Yu's only relative. Mu Yan has wronged Qian Yu. and she wants to compensate Changshun. And Bai Yang's talent in a raise is a talent that the everlasting camp urgently needs. Moreover, this young man is kind-hearted and knows how to repay kindness. For a promise, a little kindness, he doesn't hesitate to sacrifice his life. It is Jun Mayan's fortune that the Nether Flame Army can recruit such a person. Just then, there is a pa-pa-pa sound coming from the hall. Su Qing and the others look and see that the heads of the Raging Flame School disciples have exploded. In a flash, Kai Ji is the only one left alive among the Raging Flame School disciples. God, June, this is... Mu Yin smiles. It's nothing, just letting them experience hundreds of nightmarish reincarnations in a dream. The vitality in their bodies is exhausted little by little, and their souls are gradually gnawed away. Finally, they can't bear the torture and choose to self-destruct. Of course, because their spiritual power and profound qi have been exhausted, even if they self-destruct, it won't set off any storm. At most, their brains will splatter everywhere. After her, Shun Musician rose to the 7th level. Her Floating Like a Dream has also been upgraded. Under the cover of the sound of the zither, as long as the Floating Like a Dream is under the effect of the Floating Like a Dream, the things that left a deep impression in their memories will be exposed in front of Mu Yin. Almost at the moment when Floating Like a Dream is launched, she knows what kind of heartless evil these people have done. Therefore, Mu Yin did not hesitate to punish these people, letting them experience the pain that others have endured in their nightmares, and then die miserably in despair. With the self-destruction of the Raging Flame School disciples, the others in the hall also woke up. Their reactions were also different. The female cultivator named Xiao Huan and the people around her were pleasantly surprised. They had just had a beautiful dream, and when they woke up, they found that not only were their injuries healed, but their cultivation had also improved. On the other hand, the female cultivators who were aggressive towards Mu Yin were all panicking and uneasy. They looked at Mu Yin as if they were looking at a devil. Mu Yin raised the corner of her lips and looked at them with a smile that was not a smile. How about it? Do you still need me to save you now? No, don't. We won't do it again. Demon King. No. Great God, June, spare my life. Spare my life. Scared witless, these people ran out of the place. Just now, those righteous words, feeling that it was a matter of course for Mu Yin to help them, have long since vanished. They probably never wanted to see the god they worshipped ever again. Mu Yin didn't bother with them anymore. She cleaned up the hall. In the end, only a half-dead Kai Ji was left. As the sound of the zither rang out, Kai Ji's body twitched violently, and he slowly opened his eyes. What came into view was a beautiful face that could outshine the moon and put flowers to shame. Ayo, I got a piece of good news. Z, who was exhausted, desperately wrote one more chapter. Thank all the readers for their support and love for Z. I love you guys. mua/txt/83530/ _Baidu search. UC Book League website. Let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all updated in seconds. Chapter 2363. However, as soon as Kai Ji saw this face, his entire body trembled like a sieve. Feces and urine shot out from his blood-soaked crotch, filling the entire hall with a foul stench. Spare me. Great God, June, I beg you to spare me. Mine doesn't seem to notice the stench in the hall at all. She looks down at Kai Ji and says indifferently, Speak. What happened to the Chong family back then? Why are you chasing after Changshan? Why did Chong Yu end up in the Yinwu continent? Chang Shun's body suddenly trembles, his hands tightly clenched into fists, and he slowly walks to Mu Yan's side. For as long as he could remember, he had always been on the run and tortured by the cold poison. It had been more than 10 years, and he had almost forgotten what the Chong family was like. He had even forgotten whether he had a father, a mother, an older brother, or any other relatives other than Ma. He could still vaguely remember the warmth of their family when they were young. His brother took him to play and taught him the joy of practicing the sword. However, everything changed in a single night. From then on, all that was left for him was endless coldness and despair. In the beginning, he kept asking his mother, "Where are Dad and Mom? Where is Big Brother? Why don't we go home?" Later, in his mother's tears, he slowly understood that he had no parents, no older brother, no home. Changshun forced himself not to think about it and gradually forgot all about it. And today, was the truth of the past finally going to be revealed before his eyes? Changshun closed his eyes and tears flowed down his cheeks. Suddenly, a hand pressed on his shoulder. Changshun turned around and saw Bai Yang's concerned eyes. Looking at Mayan on the side, the despair and hatred in his heart is slowly replaced by strength and warmth. Kaiji's gaze sweeps over Changshun, then falls on Mu Yin in horror. He trembles as he tries to open his mouth. However, he hears Mu Yin sneer, "You'd better think carefully before answering me. If there's even a single lie, I guarantee that you will taste a nightmare 10,000 times more terrifying than just now. If you don't believe me, you can look at the other disciples of your Raging Flame school." Kaiji turned around and almost fainted from fright. Those people's exploded heads, withered skin, and falling white hair were all close at hand, showing the kind of torture these people had gone through. I'll tell you everything. Jun Mo Xie, please spare my life. I don't want to experience that nightmare again, even if I die. In Kaiji's narration, the tragedy of the Chang family, or the former sect master of the Raging Flames sect, finally surfaced. As it turned out, Chang Yu's father, Chang Lisheng, was originally the sect master of the Blazing Flame sect. The current sect master of the Raging Flame sect, Yu Guanxuan, was the vice sect master of the Raging Flame sect. The reason why the Raging Flame sect was called the Raging Flame sect was because the Chang family had a set of heaven-tier cultivation methods passed down from generation to generation. As long as a cultivator with a fire attribute spiritual root practiced this set, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. Moreover, his attack power would be doubled when he used fire spells. During his travels, Papa Chang got to know Yu Guanxuan, who also had a fire heaven spirit root, and taught him. After cultivating, Yu Guanxuan quickly broke through to the nascent soul realm. He was extremely grateful to Papa Chang. The two of them became sworn brothers. Later, it was also under Yu Guanxuan's suggestion that Father Chang set up the Blazing Flame sect on the condition that he would be able to impart his knowledge upon entering the sect. It was simply too useful for fire-type cultivators. Thus, more and more people joined the Raging Flame sect, and the Raging Flame sect became increasingly prosperous. Chapter 2364. He even moved step by step from the blue cloud world to the purple cloud world. As time went on, Chang Lisheng's cultivation was getting higher and higher, breaking through to the middle level of leaving body stage in one fell swoop. But Yu Guanxuan was stuck at the first level of leaving body stage for a long time, unable to advance any further. Yu Guanxuan's heart gradually began to grow jealousy and unwillingness, until one day he realized that the Raging Flame arts that Chang Lisheng gave him was not complete at all. Only the direct descendants of the Chang family are eligible to learn the core Raging Flame arts. Yu Guanxuan felt that he had been deceived, and he angrily questioned Chang Lisheng. Chang Lisheng hurriedly explained to him that the ancestors of the Chang family had stated clearly when they passed down the Raging Flame arts. The core cultivation method could only be passed on to the children of the Chang family with the purest heavenly fire spiritual roots. Even if other cultivators learned it, they could not achieve the same effect. However, Yu Guanxuan didn't listen at all. He only felt that Chang Lisheng didn't want him to surpass him. So he secretly hid the core Raging Flame arts. But Yu Guanxuan was very shrewd. He pretended to be convinced by Chang Lisheng. Then he turned around and took advantage of Chang Lisheng's retreat to join forces with Hall Master Kai and the others to exterminate the Chang family. Chang Lisheng never thought that his best brother would betray him. During his retreat, he was cruelly injured by Yu Guanxuan. The next to suffer were Chang Yu and Chang Shan, the two true direct descendants of the Chang family. It was at that time that Chang Yu's Dantian was seriously injured, almost shattered. Chang Yu's mother died to protect him. Before she died, she could only do everything to send Chang Yu to the Yanwu continent. When Chang Yu woke up in the Yanwu continent, his cultivation was abolished. He lost his memory and was eventually sold to the ghost cities Wan Rinku. And Chang Shen's mother's personal maid, Cheng Mei, fled with Chang Shen. At that time, Chang Shen was only 3 or 5 years old, still a little baby who didn't understand anything. During the escape, he was carelessly hit by Yu Guangxuan's confidant, and the cold poison entered his body. In just one night, the Chang family was torn apart, and the family was destroyed. However, after Yu Guangxuan slaughtered all of Chang Lixing's trusted subordinates, he ascended to the position of sect master and took control of the Raging Flame sect. But he searched the whole Raging Flame school and the Chang family, and did not find the core Raging Flame technique. Thus, he ordered the entire continent to hunt down Cheng Mei. The pitiful Cheng Mei, a weak woman, had to flee everywhere with a seriously injured Chang Shen. Their lives were precarious. The cold poison in Chang Shen's body. Unless he used the fire leaf orchid to completely cure it, he could only rely on the fire spirit pill to suppress it day by day. The fire spirit pill was expensive, and Cheng Mei was afraid of being found by the Raging Flame School. One could imagine how hard her days were. In order to become stronger and protect Chang Shen, in order to buy the fire spirit pill, she even did not hesitate to sell her body. Unexpectedly, the two of them were still discovered by the Raging Flame sect. When the Woodfern's secret realm opened, Cheng Mei steeled her heart and entrusted Chang Shen to her good friend, Elder Zhou, before entering the secret realm to look for the fire leaf orchid. But she didn't expect that the people of the Raging Flame sect would still find Chang Shen. If it weren't for Mayan's appearance, the last of the Chang family's only seedling might have already died in Yu Guangxuan's hands. Hearing this, Chang Shen could not help but burst into tears. Baiyang patted his back to comfort him. Kaiji looked at Mayan in horror. Great God, Jun, I've already said what I needed to say. You said that you would spare me? I don't want to enter that dream again. I don't want to enter that nightmare again, even if I die. In truth, Kaiji was not afraid of death, but he was afraid of the endless cycle of that nightmare. Chapter 2365. In 1 second, 800 mail signs, small divided by talk, net. Wonderful pop-up window, free reading. He even tried to self-destruct, but found that in the sound of the zither, his spiritual power had long been stagnant, and even his divine sense was chaotic, as if it had sunk into thick mercury, and could not guide his Dantian to self-destruct at all. Want to die quickly? Mu Yin raised the corner of her mouth and said slowly, Sure, help me do one more thing. What is it? Mu Yin turned her finger, and a light red paper crane appeared in her hand. Send a message to Yu Guangxuan. Say that Chang Shen has been caught, but Raging Flame technique was not found on him. Moreover, the cold poison in Chang Shen's body has flared up, and he will die before he reaches the Yun world. Kai Ji's pupils shrank slightly. You want to kill the sect master? He is a rank 3 leaving Aperture Realm expert. Mu Yan's fingers gently plucked the strings of the zither, and the corner of her mouth hooked up in a mocking arc. You just need to answer me. Will you send it or not? The sound of the zither echoed in his ears, melodious and pleasant, but Kai Ji seemed to hear the call from hell. He immediately screamed, I'll send it. I'll send it. Please don't play the zither anymore. 1 day later, a sword light fell straight from the sky. The huge flying sword slowly became smaller, and 3 people walked down from it. The surrounding air immediately filled with a terrible pressure. If there were people from Qingyun world here, they would have vomited blood and fainted. These 3 people were Yu Guangxuan and his 2 confidants. 1 rank 4 leaving Aperture Realm, and 2 peak nascent soul. In the entire Qingyun world, how many people have seen such high-level cultivators? A slender man beside Yu Guangxuan reached out and fanned the tip of his nose, and said in disgust, Even the smell of trash-gathering place is disgusting. Haha, this is Qingyun world after all. The spiritual energy is heterogeneous, and there is no refining God precipice. How can it be compared with our Xian world? But we are here to take away that Chong family son of a bitch. Speaking of which, it is your fault, old Sunday. That cold ice palm was too heavy, and after 10 years, the cold poison has not been cured, and it has become even more serious. The slender man called Old Sun laughed, and his face was quite proud. As the three casually walked, they arrived at the Azure Cloud World's Raging Flame School. Looking at the empty door, Old Sun couldn't help but frown. This Kai Ji is getting more and more incompetent. He knows that the sect master is here, but he doesn't even come out to welcome him. But Yu Guanchuan said indifferently, "You don't have to care about these customs. This time, as long as he can let me obtain the true blazing flame technique, I will remember his contribution." Thinking about how the core cultivation method of the blaze technique that he had coveted for more than 10 years was about to fall into his hands, his cultivation would improve by leaps and bounds from now on. Yu Guanchuan's eyes shone with a fiery light. At this moment, melodious music slowly sounded from within the blazing flame gate. The sound of the zither was like weeping and complaining at one moment, touching and sorrowful at another, stirring and resounding at the next. But no matter what the key was, the sound of the guqin was as pleasant as the sounds of nature, and they were almost unable to extricate themselves from it. However, as he listened, Yu Guanchuan first realized that something was wrong. Damn it! Quickly shield your ears. The one playing the zither is a support musician. Moreover, the effect of the zither music on them was negative support. With Yu Guanchuan's shout, the two hall masters realized that something was wrong, and they gathered their spirit to their ears, shielding their hearing. But they were still a step too late. They discovered that the spirit energy that they were originally circulating freely seemed to have been filled with lead. What's going on? Someone actually ambushed us? Chapter 2366. In 1 second, 800 mail signs small divided by talk net. Wonderful pop-up window, free reading. Where's Kai Ji? Who's playing tricks inside? Still not coming out for me. As the sound of the zither slowly stops, 7 colored sword lights soar into the sky and eventually converge into a transparent sword in midair. On the sword, the girl in white stands, looking down at the 3 people. Hall Master Kai, your sect master is looking for you? Do you want to go down and see him? A sweet voice, like the sounds of nature, comes unhurriedly from the sky. As soon as the voice falls, a badly mutilated torso is thrown in front of Yu Guanchuan. At this time, Kai Ji is already at his last gasp, mentally deranged. He doesn't even notice Yu Guanchuan, who is close at hand. He just keeps shouting, "I don't want to go back to the nightmare. God Jun, I beg you, kill me, kill me." Kai Ji, you're Kai Ji. Yu Guanchuan's 2 confidants are simply stunned. Kai Ji's cultivation is at the nascent soul stage. In the Qingyun realm, he can be said to be an invincible existence. But now, he is turned into this ghastly appearance. After hearing the 3 words, God Jun, Yu Guanchuan's pupils suddenly shrink. He stares at the girl in the sky, muttering, "Fatally beautiful killing god. You're Jun Mayan." The 7 absolute sword slowly falls to the ground, and the girl's beautiful face appears in front of the 3 people. Under this look, even the last trace of luck in Yu Guanchuan's heart completely disappears. Jun Mayan, what do you mean by this? My Raging Flame School and the Xiao Yao 7 Sons have no enmity in the past. What do you mean by crippling my men? His voice is loud and clear, and his tone is questioning. But only he himself knew how much of it he was just pretending to be tough on the outside but weak on the inside. His eyes keep looking around, wanting to know whether it's Jun Mayan alone or the Xiao Yao 7 Sons who have all come. Mayan sneers, "Don't look, my fellow apprentices aren't here. I'm the only one here." Hearing this, Yu Guanchuan immediately breathes a sigh of relief. A cold light slowly condenses in his eyes as he looks at Mayan. The girl in front of him is indeed stunning, but in the end, she's only a core formation cultivator. He had 1 out-of-body stage and 2 nascent soul stage cultivators on his side. Could it be that he couldn't deal with her? As for the Heavensight sect's destruction, it was definitely due to the unique environment of the Woodfern secret realm. Perhaps it was 3 against 1 from the Xiaoyao sect, or perhaps it was a sneak attack. In short, they were already prepared. Why would they be afraid of a mere little girl? Thinking of this, he cleared his throat and said, "Miss June, has my Raging Flame sect ever offended you?" Mu Yin shook her head. Without waiting for Yu Guanxuan to speak, she sneered, "You didn't offend me, but you offended my elder brother." "Your elder brother?" Mu Yin continued, "You killed Chong Lixing's family, right? Your people crippled Chong Yu's Dantian, and he fell into Yinwu continent, right?" Yu Guanxuan's expression suddenly changed. "You are indeed standing up for the Chong family. Zhu Mayan, think about it carefully. The Chong family has long been ruined, and our Raging Flame School is like the sun in the sky. Is it worth it to offend our Raging Flame School for the sake of the ruined Chong family? The dilapidated Chong family? The Raging Flame School that's like the sun in the sky." Mu Yin sneered and slowly shook her head. "After today, it won't be." Her voice was clear and pleasant to listen to, but it sounded like a curse. Every word smashed into the heads of Yu Guanxuan and the other two, causing an indescribable fear to rise in their hearts. Chapter 2367. Soon, the Raging Flame sect will disappear from this world, and the Chong family will regain its glory one day. Even if the Raging Flame sect reappears in the world one day, the sect master will be surnamed Chong. Chongyu, this is the only way I can repay you. May your spirit in heaven witness the reemergence of the Chong family with your own eyes. Witness the joy and health of your only relative." Hiding in the corner, Chong Shun hears these words with tears streaming down his face. His fists are tightly clenched, and his eyes are full of unswerving determination. He vows that he will not let down the Mrs. expectations and will not disappoint his mother's sacrifice. One day, he will support the Chong family and comfort his parents and brother. The blue sky has become overcast at some point. The pitter-patter of rain falls down. "Don't kill me. I beg you to spare my life." Yu Guanxuan is lying in the muddy grass, blood gurgling out from his wound and the broken leg, mixing with the mud. Beside him, the bodies of his 2 trusted subordinates lie in disorder. In the curtain of rain, the girl slowly walks over. Her whole body is shrouded in a halo of rich spiritual energy, and the cold rain is blocked outside by the halo. The world is muddy, but the girl walking in the rain seems to be untainted by a speck of dust. At this time, all the emotions in Yu Guanxuan's heart have been replaced by fear and despair. He has no legs, so he keeps clawing at the muddy ground with his hands to crawl backwards. His mouth keeps shouting and begging, "Raging Flame sect, I am willing to give you the Raging Flame sect. Also, I can give you the treasures that I snatched from the Chong family. I only beg you to let me go. Let me live." Mayan looks at him expressionlessly for a while, then says faintly, "Little Shun, come here." In the curtain of rain, the youth runs over with large strides. The rain drenches his clothes and hair, but he doesn't notice it at all. His pair of eyes unwaveringly stare at Yu Guanxuan, filled with monstrous anger and hatred. It's this beast that killed his parents and killed his brother. He also forced his mother and elder Zhou into a dead end. Chong Shun is a kind-hearted child, but when he sees this man, he can't wait to tear him to pieces. "Do you want to take revenge with your own hands?" The girl's clear and sweet voice makes Chong Shun jerk his head, and he whispers, "Miss." Mu Yin flicked her wrist, and a dagger appeared in her hand. She said unhurriedly, "I've smeared 18 types of poisons on this dagger. Each of them will make you wish you were dead, but you won't die in a short period of time. As long as this knife does not pierce his heart, he will continue to sink in the torment of hell until you allow him to escape." Chong Shun stares blankly at Mu Yin, the rims of his eyes reddening a little as tears fall from his eyes. Mu Yin reveals a gentle smile and shoves the dagger into his hand. Go seek justice for your Chong family, for your mama." Chong Shun hurriedly wiped away his tears, gripped the dagger tightly, and nodded heavily. Then, with a cold look in his eyes, he walked step by step towards Yu Guanxuan. Chang Shun, don't you want the Raging Flame sect? You're just a kid. You can't take over the Raging Flame sect. But as long as I help you, you can become the sect master of the Raging Flame sect. Think about it. It's such a glorious thing. Kill me and you'll get nothing. Yu Guanxuan tried his best to tempt him. The Raging Flame sect is a big cake, and Changshun can't swallow it all by himself. Baidu search the UC Book League website and let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2368. If he wants to get the Raging Flame sect, he needs his help. Yu Guanxuan believes that no one would not be tempted by such a huge benefit. As long as there's life, there's hope. Today he failed, but given a chance, he will definitely be able to make a comeback. Yu Guanxuan fearfully sweeps over Mayan, concealing the ruthlessness at the bottom of his eyes. He looks at Changshun with a pleading and fawning expression. Shunner, when you were born, Uncle still held you. When you were a child, Uncle also took your brother to gain experience. Uncle also felt guilty about what happened back then, and always wanted to make up for it. I wanted to return the Raging Flame sect to your Chang family. If you don't believe me, you can make me swear a poison oath. If I don't properly assist you, let my reputation be ruined, and I'll be damned. Yeah. Before Yu Guanxuan could finish his flowery words, Changshun suddenly stabs him with a knife. In a split second, an indescribable pain spreads throughout Yu Guanxuan's body. It's like countless ants are gnawing at his bones, and like a sharp blade is cutting his head. This kind of pain is by no means something that ordinary people can bear. Changshun coldly looks at him, gritting his teeth. Back then, is this how you deceive my father and my brother? You think that after your true colors are exposed, I can still believe you? What Raging Flame sect? Chang family's treasures, I don't need anything. I only want you to die. The dagger is suddenly pulled out, and once again, it ruthlessly stabs Yu Guanxuan. This knife, I'm giving you on behalf of my father. This knife is for the death of my mother and brother. This knife is for the death of my mother and brother. Again and again. In the blink of an eye, Yu Guanxuan is already riddled with holes, and his flesh is badly mutilated. His body keeps twitching, his face is distorted, and his eyes turn white, but he can't even cry out. Blood keeps splashing, falling on Changshun's face. But it's mixed with rainwater and washed off. Not long after, a bright red puddle converges on the ground. Such a scene should be cruel and bloody, but it's mixed with unspeakable sorrow and sadness. After 2 hours of torture, Yu Guanxuan finally breathed his last. Changshun stared blankly at the blood and flesh being washed away by the rain. He suddenly threw away the dagger and fell to his knees with a thud, wailing loudly. Mama, Dad, Mom, Brother, Shun, or has taken revenge for you. Woo 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 woo. The Chang clan was avenged, but the dead would never come again. Mama, Shun'er misses you so much. Can you see it? The enemy you wanted to kill, Shun'er killed him for you. Dad, Mom, Brother, can you all come? Shun'er missed you guys so much. Bai Yang squatted down in front of Changshun and used his remaining hand to pull the lonely, crying youth into his arms. Little Shun, don't cry. Although your family is gone, we will always be by your side. Changshun slowly raised her head and looked at Bai Yang with her watery eyes. Brother Bai Yang, you won't abandon me like my mom, right? You're the only family I have left. I don't want to be alone anymore. Bai Yang smiled softly and caressed his head. Of course I won't abandon you. What's more, how could you be alone? Did you forget that the miss said that she would take me to see your brother's brothers? They will definitely take good care of you. The rain started to fall, and it didn't stop. Mu Yin took Changshun and Bai Yang to a small town not far from the Raging Flame sect. Baidu search UC Book League website and let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2369. As for Su Qing, without the task of leading the way, Mu Yin lets him go back first. Changshun, Miss, where are we going? Is it to see my brother's brother? They're in this town? Mu Yin smiled and didn't say anything. Instead, she walked straight into the town's largest inn. When the waiter saw them, he immediately welcomed them warmly. Without waiting for him to speak, Mayan says, "I want to see your boss." The waiter was startled and said awkwardly, "Sir, our boss doesn't meet people easily." Mu Yin hands a black token to the waiter. "Give this to your boss. He will see it." The waiter suspiciously took the token and looked at it. In the center of the black jade token, there was a flame symbol. Under the illumination of the light, the flames seemed to flicker with red light. The waiter took the token doubtfully and left. Not long after, a middle-aged man rushed down the stairs. Seeing Mayan, he almost kneels down with a thud. "Darren, why did you come in person?" This middle-aged man wasn't a core member of the Nether Flame Army, but he was a core member of the Heaven Seeker Battalion. Therefore, he knew Mayan's identity in this Dark Flame token, which represented the supreme position of the Dark Flame Army. When he thought of Mu Yan's identity, the middle-aged man couldn't help but tremble all over. He was excited and nervous. Mayan faintly smiles. She doesn't say any nonsense and directly says via secret sound transmission, "Go send a message. Have the Ink Camp send someone over." The middle-aged man did not dare to delay and hurriedly obeyed the order. Mu Yan brought Bai Yang and Chang Shun to settle down first. She originally thought that she would have to wait for a few days, but she didn't expect that after half a day, she would rush to the small town alone. The one who comes is the captain of the Ink Camp, Guan Hu. He just happens to be carrying out a mercenary mission in the vicinity. Hearing Mayan summon, he doesn't care about the mission or the reward and rushes over regardless of the consequences. When Guan Hu sees Mayan, he immediately steps forward and kneels down in excitement. "Greetings, miss." Mayan waves her hand to let him get up. Guan Hu also knows that the miss and the little master don't like empty formalities, so he immediately stands up with a grin. "Miss, what instructions do you have for me? Did someone offend you? I'll immediately gather the people from the Ink Camp to help you teach them a lesson." Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. Guan Hu's back immediately trembled, and he came back to his senses. What the hell? Is his brain damaged? What kind of person was their young miss? Not to mention sweeping across the Yenwu continent. Even in the current Xiojin continent, the names of the fatally beautiful killing god and the she-devil would be known to everyone. In this world, the people who offended their young miss would probably already have grass growing on their graves. Would it still be their turn to teach them a lesson? Guan Hu dryly laughs. "I'm used to it. Used to it. Miss, don't get used to it." Who told the Nether Flame Army to be a bandit-like existence back in the Yenwu continent? Whichever force dared to offend Mayan, offend the Netherworld Flame Valley, they would immediately crush them with a crushing force. That feeling was fucking awesome. Unfortunately, after coming to the Cultivation continent, their cultivation was pitifully weak. Any random disciple from that sect could crush them. Therefore, they could only hide their strength and bide their time, enduring and keeping a low profile. However, Guan Hu had really had enough of the days where he had to tuck his tail between his legs. Even in his dreams, he hoped that the Netherfire Army could recover its former glory. Mu Yan seems to have seen through his thoughts and says in a low voice, "There will be that day. Besides, it won't be far." Chapter 2370. With that, she casually tossed a dozen storage rings into Guan Hu's hand. Guan Hu hurriedly caught them and looked at Mu Yan blankly, then probed inside with his divine sense. He almost fainted at the sight. Crystals, magic treasures, elixirs densely packed, layer upon layer, piling up into small hills in the storage rings. Heavens, how much wealth would that be? The miss actually threw them to him so casually. Little. Miss, what are these?" Guan Hu's mouth was stuttering. Mu Yan casually said, "Didn't I say? I will be responsible for the development of the Nether Flame Army. These are the resources for the next year." The last time they came out of the Woodfern Secret Realm, because they were in a hurry, they only left a small portion of the resources in the Nether Flame Valley. This time at the Xiaoyao sect, Mu Yan let her fellow apprentices pick the treasures they needed first and left a large pile of crystals for Qi Huan. As for the rest, she planned to give them to the Nether Flame Army except for elixirs. Guan Hu opened his mouth, a burst of warmth surging in his heart, his eyes also swollen. The value of the treasures here was so high that any cultivator would go crazy with greed. But the mist didn't hesitate to give them to him. This kind of trust made the usually talkative Guan Hu choke with sobs for a moment, unable to say a word. He silently swore in his heart that no one in the Nether Flame Army could betray the Mississippi. If anyone dared to do so, he, Guan Hu, would be the first to cut off that traitor's dog head. Muyin didn't feel anything, probably because the treasures in the Woodfern's secret realm came too easily. She was just a little worried. She thought that the harvest in the Woodfern's secret realm was big enough. But Qi Huang exploited a small part of it. She spent part of it on elixirs, and the rest was given to the Nether Flame Army. She actually became a pauper again. Moreover, the Nether Flame Army's business was getting bigger and bigger. If she wanted to ensure the Nether Flame Army's full development, she was afraid that these resources could only last for half a year at most. Alas, although it was easy to earn crystals, it was even easier to spend them. Muyin calmed herself down and put the worries about crystals to the back of her mind. She looked at Guan Hu and said, "This time I called you here to bring someone back to the ink camp. Little Shun, come out." A youngster slowly walked out from the inner room, looking at Guan Hu nervously from time to time. Guan Hu blinked his eyes and said loudly, "Miss, this kid looks very thin and weak, like a pretty boy. Why do you want to put him in the ink camp? I feel that the secret division and longevity division are more suitable for him, right?" Muyin slowly says, "His name is Chang Shun." Guan Hu stares blankly at first. Then he seems to have thought of something and suddenly turned his head to look at the youth. A pair of tiger-like eyes stared fixedly at the youth's face, sweeping up and down, as if wanting to see through his face. "Brad, I think your face looks a little like my dead brother." Chang Shun raised his head and said softly, "Chang Yu is my older brother." After learning that Chang Shun was Chang Yu's younger brother, Guan Hu acted out of character and no longer despised Chang Shun's thinness and slenderness. He hugged her tightly and refused to let go, muttering nonstop, "This is great, this is great. Chang Yu has a successor. I'm relieved. I'm relieved." The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. "There's a successor. There's no successor is used like this." She didn't say anything more. After handing over Chang Shun and Bai Yang to Guan Hu, she left. Chapter 2371. Back then in the ink camp, the one who had the best relationship with Chang Yu was Guan Hu. Chang Yu's death also saddened the brothers of the ink camp the most. She believes that the ink camp will certainly take good care of and teach Chang Shun. As for Bai Yang, Mayan also let Guan Hu take him to the Everlasting Camp. It was hard to find talents in the Everlasting Camp. Hiding would definitely be ecstatic if she saw this rare forging genius. Muyin returned to the Raging Flame School of the Blue Cloud World alone. Looking at the hollowed-out main hall, she remembers the dirty and ugly scene that used to be here. She takes out the Tian Mo Chin and plucks the strings. Countless flaming zither blades rain down. With a few loud bangs, the once prosperous Raging Flame gate collapsed and turned into ruins. Muyin softly said in her heart, "Chang Yu, goodbye." She turned around and was about to leave when suddenly an extremely uneasy premonition flowed through her entire body. Ever since her Shun musician skills reached the 7th level, Muyin feels that her sixth sense has become several times sharper than before. In a battle with a profound immortal like Qin Peng, it was impossible for him not to be crushed to death immediately. To a certain extent, he relied on this kind of prediction of crisis. Therefore, when the ominous premonition rushes in once again, Mayan doesn't even think about it. The Tian Mo Chin transforms into the 7 absolute swords and rushes forward. Like an arrow shot from a bow, he flew into the distance. Almost as soon as her figure disappeared, Lung Yuexiao landed in front of the ruins of the Raging Flame sect and frowned. She explores with her divine sense and captures the aura that pervades the surroundings. Her eyes are cold. Yes, it's indeed the unique fluctuation of the demonic power of those Shun musicians. and it hasn't been long since they left. Little bitch, since I've come down, do you think you can escape from me? Just as she finished speaking, Lung Yuxia's figure suddenly disappeared from where she stood, and a stream of light flew towards the direction that Mu Yin was flying towards. Lung Yuxia was a profound immortal of a much higher level than Qin Peng. Her speed is definitely not something a little Jinan stage cultivator like Mu Yin can compare with. So in the blink of an eye, Lung Yuxia catches up with Mu Yin. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and the pitter-patter of rain became heavier and heavier. This time, Mu Yin didn't waste her spiritual power and used divine hands weave heaven to block the rain. Instead, she allowed the rain to drench her clothes and hair. She stared unblinkingly at the cold and elegant woman not far away. The woman looked to be in her 30s and had a gorgeous appearance. But this kind of beauty didn't have the slightest feeling of being bright and beautiful. Instead, it was mixed with a trace of viciousness and ruthlessness. When people looked at this charming face, not only would they not be infatuated or stunned, they would instead be fearful. The dense rain fell on the elegant woman's body, but didn't touch her in the slightest. Hovering in the air, she is slightly higher than Mu Yin. At this time, looking down at her from above, she has a feeling of disdain, as if she was looking at an ant. This kind of contempt, as well as the frightening pressure that is being emitted from her body, makes Mu Yin almost immediately determine that the person who has come is not someone from the Xiaoxin continent. This was another so-called immortal from the Xiaoxin continent. Moreover, it was an immortal who wanted to kill him. While Mu Yin is sizing up Lung Yuexia is also looking at Mu Yin. At that time, when Lung Qingwan took the magnificent quicksand and changed her appearance, a deep jealousy welled up in Lung Yuexia's heart. Because the current Lung Qingwan is so beautiful, even far surpassing her when she was young. And her appearance is similar to the remnants of the Shun musicians. Chapter 2372. This makes Lung Yuexia uncontrollably recall the time when Bailey Yinlu robbed her of all her glory and her man. She's not reconciled. She doesn't understand why the heavens favor that group of Shun musicians so much, giving them such amazing talents, and even giving them such disdainful beauty. However, at this very moment, when she sees the real Mayan, only then does she know how ridiculous Lung Qingwan's 50 to 60% resemblance is. The girl in front of her is completely drenched, and half of her hair, messed up by the wind and rain, is stuck to her face. But such a sorry figure can't diminish her beauty in the slightest. Seeing her, Lung Yuexia knows what it means to truly captivate even the birds and beasts, to overshadow the moon and put flowers to shame. Was truly unparalleled beauty. Even the Bailey Yinlu of those years couldn't compare to her peerless elegance. But the more she understands, the more the jealousy and unwillingness in her heart are like a viper gnawing at her soul. Why? Why isn't she, Lung Yuexia, the one with such an unparalleled beauty? Why isn't her origin bone suitable to take the magnificent quicksand? If she also had such an unparalleled beauty, would the man she loved at that time still be willing to abandon her and choose that slut Bailey Yinlu? Lung Yuexia takes a deep breath, stabilizing her tumbling emotions from jealousy and hatred. Even if the Shun musician slut's talent is outstanding, how seductive. In the end, the Shun musician sect was destroyed. Not a single person was left alive. Now, the only remaining Shun musician remnant will also die in her hands. And she, Lung Yuexia, will use Lung Qingwan to hook up with the Polar Domain's monarch. In the end, she will get wind, she will get rain. She will ruthlessly trample all those who had mistreated her under her feet. Thinking of this, the jealousy in Lung Yuexia's eyes disappears, replaced by the carefree feeling of looking down on an ant. Killing an ant like you will only dirty my hands. Mutilate yourself. I'll leave your corpse intact. Mayan slightly narrows her eyes. Who are you? Why do you want to kill me? Lung Yuexia sneers and says impatiently, You're not qualified to know. My patience is limited. If you don't do it yourself, it won't be so easy to die later. As soon as she finished speaking, she couldn't care less about the backlash she might suffer in the cultivation continent. She released her profound, immortal aura with all her might. Mu Yin only felt that the surrounding air seemed to have solidified in an instant, fiercely pounding on her sea of consciousness and divine soul. Her face was deathly pale, and beads of sweat rolled down her forehead. Lung Yuxia teasingly looked at her miserable appearance, waiting for her to show a look of panic and fear, kneeling down and begging for mercy. As long as he thinks of the remnants of the Shun musicians kneeling in front of him, begging for their lives like dogs. Her heart was filled with an indescribable joy. However, after Mu Yan's initial change in expression, he returned to normal in the blink of an eye. Her face was still pale, but there was no trace of fear in her eyes, only calmness and coldness. With a wave of his hand, the Seven Absolutes sword becomes the Tian Mo Qin. Slender, jade-like fingers gently pluck on the Tian Mo Qin. Stabilizing soul activated. His sea of consciousness and divine soul, which were on the verge of collapse due to Lung Yuexia's pressure, rapidly recovered under the soothing sound of the zither. At the same time, Mu Yin didn't hold anything back. Graceful feather activated. Lotus steps activated. Cloud-encompassing heavenly net activated. This stellar domain quickly spread out like a huge net, completely enveloping a large area around it. Bookmarked for easier reading. Chapter 2373. Lung Yuexia's face darkens in an instant. 7th rank, Shun musician. How old is this slut? How long has it been since she ascended from the Yanwu continent to the Xiuzhen continent? Yet she has already risen to the 7th rank of Shun musician. Moreover, her zither music can even easily dissolve the pressure of a Xian immortal like her. Her stellar domain has already reached the 3rd rank. Her own domain has only just entered the 4th rank. Lung Yuxia's heart surges with an indescribable panic. This slut, if she is given a little more time to grow, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lung Yuexia's eyes sweep over the Tian Mo Qin, a trace of greed welling up in her eyes. When Lung Qinwan said that she couldn't get the Tian Mo Qin from Mayan, she didn't take it to heart. Probably because she knew that the major sects of the Xiuxian continent chased after the Shun music sect, exterminating them. Only Bailey Yinlu dragged her half-dead body and fled to the Xiuxian continent and the Yanwu continent. During that time, she probably didn't want them to take advantage of her, so she dismantled the Tian Mo Qin one by one. The most important parts were discarded at will. By the time she reached the Yanwu continent, the Tian Mo Qin had almost become a waste. This also caused Bailey Yinlu's strength to drop greatly. Just as she escaped to the Yanwu continent, she was immediately killed. However, how could they have thought that this slut had left behind a contingency plan, leaving the Tian Mo Qin and the Shun musician inheritance in the Yanwu continent? But even if she obtained the Shun musician inheritance, without the assistance of a powerful enough Tian Mo Qin, her strength could not be improved. But now, Mayan's Shun musician skills have been upgraded to the 7th rank. That means that the Tian Mo Qin is at least half repaired. This kind of Tian Mo Qin, plus the Shun musician inheritance, if she, Lung Yuexia, can obtain it, the cold contempt on Lung Yuexia's face is gradually replaced by excitement. She says in a deep voice, "Bingong will give you another chance. Hand over the Tian Mo Qin and the Shun musician inheritance, and I can only abolish your cultivation and spare your dog life." While Lung Yuexia is observing and talking, Mayan has never stopped playing the zither. Hearing that, she laughs mockingly. Do you people of the Xiuxian continent all like to talk nonsense? Also, you're especially poor and often like to ask for things from other people's hands. You have a righteous and self-righteous attitude that you have to give. Who gave you face? Oh, that's not right. I don't think you guys have any shame, do you? Lung Yuexia's expression suddenly turned cold, and her anger burst forth. It's your honor that I want your things. A mere golden core cultivator dares to be impudent in front of me? I only want. All right, I'm tired of hearing this kind of harsh words. Mu Yin mercilessly interrupts her. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then get lost. If you want what I have, you'll have to step over my dead body. Of course, the premise is that these things are still intact when I die. As soon as he finished speaking, the last note was finished. The Tian Mo Qin in her hand suddenly turns into the 7 absolute swords. Under the curtain of rain, 7 identical figures held the 7 absolute swords and surrounded Lung Yuexia. Then they suddenly attacked. Lung Yuexia was trembling with anger. She was so angry that she even forgot to shield herself from the rain, which made her hair and clothes wet. Never had she imagined that a tiny golden core realm cultivator wouldn't reveal fear and caution when facing a mysterious immortal like her, but would instead be so unbridled and arrogant. Chapter 2374. However, due to her unstable state of mind, she actually failed to dodge one of the attacks from the 7 figures. The invincible 7 absolutes sword directly cuts a deep scar on her face. Slut! Slut! You dare to hurt me! Lung Yuexia is furious. She touches her blood-stained cheek, her body trembling uncontrollably. But very quickly, the anger in her eyes is replaced by an ice-cold, murderous intent. Her whole body regains the splendor and majesty of the Tian Men's master. The corners of her mouth curl up into a cold smile. You're right. I shouldn't have talked nonsense with you. The remnants of the Shun musicians are demons that can subvert the 3 realms and the 6 paths. Everyone has the right to punish them. From the very beginning, I should have done everything in my power to scatter your soul and scatter it. Meeting her cold and vicious eyes, Mayan's heart shudders, and she quickly retreats. But in the end, she's still a step too late. Lung Yuexia suddenly raises her hand, and a dark red furnace flies out from her hand. When the furnace just flew out, it was only the size of a palm, but it gets bigger and bigger as it gets in the air. As Lung Yuexia injects her spiritual sense and spiritual power into the furnace, countless ice swords suddenly spring out of the furnace, shooting straight towards Mayan. Mayan displays the lotus-blooming steps to the extreme, and her figure is like a ghost, evading the ice swords. But there are too many ice swords. Finally, she still couldn't hold on, and a sword pierces through her shoulder. Ugh! Mayan couldn't help but let out a muffled groan from the bone-piercing cold. Her body falls down from the air, heavily smashing into the wet grass, and she spits out a mouthful of blood. This time, Lung Yuexia doesn't lower her guard because of her sorry state and injury. She soars up and fishes in the dark red furnace. She pulls out a fiery red longsword and thrusts it straight at Mayan. Mayan doesn't care about the pain in her shoulder. The 7 absolutes sword is held horizontally in front of her, and a sword flower is drawn. Clang, clang, clang. Under the gloomy curtain of rain, bright sparks burst out from the collision of the 2 swords. Lung Yuexia's eyes slightly widen, revealing an incredulous and stunned expression. Her sword was actually blocked. Lung Yuexia's dark red cauldron was a high-grade, godly monarch artifact called the 5 Elements Cauldron. The magic treasures of the Xiaoxin continent were divided into Divine Artifact, Heavenly Divine Artifact, Godly King Artifact, Sacred Ancestral Artifact, Sacred Artifact, and Heavenly Sacred Artifact. High-grade God King tools were rare even in the Xiaoxin continent. From this cauldron, Lung Yuexia could take out offensive treasures of the 5 elements. The ice arrow and the fire attribute flying sword in her hand were one of the treasures taken out of the 5 elements cauldron. On the Xiaoxin continent, even if Lung Yuexia encountered a cultivator of the same level as her, as long as she took out the 5 elements cauldron, she would definitely win. This fire elemental flying sword could even split mountains and shatter rocks. It could instantly destroy most middle-grade and inferior-grade divine monarch weapons. But at this time, when facing a little girl in the Gold Core realm, not only was he unable to destroy her, but he was also faintly suppressed. Bang! With a loud bang, the 2 of them separated. Mayan spits out another mouthful of blood. Her small face is deathly pale, without a trace of blood. Even her lips are faintly purple. That sword just now was her own creation, the second move of the Blood Slaughter Sword array, the flowing light sword shadow. It's the same as the first move, the Swimming Dragon's double slash. The move is powerful, but it consumes most of her spiritual energy and physical strength. Now, she's riddled with scars, and she's already an arrow at the end of its flight. Lung Yuexia, on the other hand, is calm and composed. Apart from the small injury on her face, she doesn't have the slightest loss. This isn't immortal, this is the true strength of a mystic immortal. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2375. Crushing a puny core stage cultivator isn't the slightest bit of pressure. Lung Yuexia doesn't lower her guard. She quickly takes out the third artifact from the Five Elements Cauldron. It's a small hammer that emits a golden glow. She just reaches out and gently waves it in the sky. A golden lightning strikes Mayan's body. Mayan rolls away, barely dodging it. The second, third, and dozens of lightning bolts follow. Mayan simply can't avoid this intensive attack, so she can only open the divine, weaves the sky protective shield. The lightning strikes the shield, but it doesn't bounce back. That's because the gap in cultivation between the two is too big. Every lightning strike consumes some of the spiritual energy in Mayan's dantian. She keeps spitting out blood, her body is covered in mud, and the rain mixed with blood flows down from her hair. She can't even stand up. She can only use the Seven Absolutes sword to support her body, so that she doesn't fall. Seeing this scene, Lung Yuexia's face finally shows a smile. That's because she knows that Jun Mayan has already lost all power to resist. The last Shin musician remnant is about to be easily pinched to death by her. Lung Yuexia gently swings the hammer, about to send another lightning strike. But she suddenly sees that the protective shield that was protecting Mayan underneath has disappeared. The girl, covered in blood and dirt, slowly raises her head, her eyes looking straight at Lung Yuexia. Her face is deathly pale, but her eyes are so bright that they seem to be burning. At this moment, there isn't a trace of fear in her eyes, only a determination to die without returning. Lung Yuexia sneers, gnashing her teeth. What she hates the most is that group of bitches from the Shin music sect who look at death with equanimity. It's as if, no matter how much they suppress and kill, they will never truly die out, and one day they will rise from the ashes. With a wave of her hand, she summons the Five Elements Cauldron in front of her. She throws a ball of Dan fire into the cauldron, and it burns brightly in the cauldron. After a while, a pitch-black whip slowly floats out of the Five Elements Cauldron and falls into Lung Yuexia's hand. This Five Elements whip is the ultimate form of all the weapons in the Five Elements Cauldron. Lung Yuexia raises the whip and fiercely swings it at Mayan. This whip sent Muyan's entire person flying out fiercely. On her back, a piece of flesh had been scraped off. Her flesh was badly mangled, and her bones were exposed. There were even burn marks. Even with Mayan's perseverance, she still lies prone on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. The blood mixed with the rainwater and pooled into a small puddle around her. "Ju Mayan, let me out. I want to kill this old woman. I want to kill her." Beside his ear was Seven Brilliance's almost crazed roars. There were also the anxious cries of Little Chick and Little Phoenix. However, Muyan felt that these voices were so far away from her, so far away, as if they came from the horizon. A huge impact comes from the Tian Mo Chin space. Muyan knows that Qi Huang couldn't help but come out. "Idiot Qi Xiao Wang, do you want to die? Didn't you say that no matter what, no one can discover your existence? Until one day, I have enough power to protect you from anyone." Even Seven Brilliance's final roar had faded into the distance. Muyan only feels that her body, soaked in the rain, is getting colder and colder, and her consciousness is getting more and more absent-minded. She thinks, can I really wait until that day comes? Can I protect Xiao Bao's healthy growth? Can I openly stand by Di Mingju's side? Chapter 2376. Can I make it so that 7 Xia Huangs no longer have to hide in the space alone and walk under the sun fearlessly? Can I really do it? No one notices that the void spirit ring on Mayan's left hand is glowing faintly. This light looks very unremarkable under the curtain of rain, but little by little, it seeps into Mayan's skin, faintly spreading through her flesh and blood, bit by bit seeping into her bones. Suddenly, Mu Yan's fuzzy consciousness clears up a little. Her ears were still buzzing, and she couldn't hear Qi Huang's roars clearly, nor could she hear Little Chick and Little Phoenix's voices. However, she heard some strange sounds. The soil and grass beneath her were breathing. The raindrops falling from the sky collided with each other, rubbing against the air and falling slowly. There was also the sound of surging water in the distance. That water was different from ordinary rivers, lakes, and seas. Even from so far away, one could still feel the powerful and terrifying energy. It was as if even a cultivator at the tribulation passing stage would be torn to pieces in an instant. That was a branch of the God-refining abyss under the God-refining precipice. It was rumored that the cultivators who fell into the God-refining abyss would have their souls destroyed, and they would never be able to reincarnate. Mu Yin suddenly opens her eyes before Lung Yuexia's second whip comes. He rose up and flew towards the refining God abyss without hesitation. You want to escape? Lung Yuexia sneered. Let's see if you can escape. After saying that, her figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Jun Mayan, what are you doing? Hurry up and let me out. Let me kill this old woman. Mu Yin, Qi Huang, don't be noisy. You idiot, don't you know you're dying? Qi Huang's explosive words are interrupted by Mu Yan's weak voice. It's not a desperate situation yet. I can't risk your safety. Qi Huang was stunned for a moment. He stood on the grass in a daze, his hands tightly clenched into fists. Mu Yan only ran for a few breaths before Lung Yuexia caught up with her. Lung Yuexia lashed out with her whip. Mu Yan, however, doesn't dodge or evade. She directly uses her back, which is already riddled with scars, to directly receive the whip. Puff! A large mouthful of blood spurted out. Her figure suddenly scuttled a few steps forward, and when she landed, she was already on the cliff in front of the God-refining abyss. Lung Yuexia's footsteps came to a sudden halt. Her gaze swept across the surging black water below, and a trace of seriousness appeared on her face. God-refining abyss. There's actually a God-refining abyss here. If she was swallowed by the God-refining abyss, even if she was a Xian immortal, she would die a horrible death. The God-refining abyss was a place where even the immortal bone could be crushed. Lung Yuexia's gaze turns towards Mayan. You want to perish indiscriminately and jump into the refining God abyss? A look of disdain appeared on her face. Do you think you have a chance to jump down in front of me? Yes. Lung Yuexia would not give Mu Yin the chance to jump into the refining God abyss. Once she turned around, the 5-element whip would pierce through her body. Moreover, the whip can extend and split infinitely, and can even bring her corpse and the Tian Mo Qin together. Most of the time, when the weak faced the strong, they didn't even have the chance to seek death. Mu Yan's body was on the verge of collapse, but the hand holding the 7 absolutes sword did not tremble at all. She slowly said in a hoarse voice, "If I don't try, how would I know?" Saying that, she turned around without hesitation and jumped into the God-refining abyss. Damn it! Lung Yuexia cursed, and the 5-element whip promptly lashed out at Mu Yin. Chapter 2377. She certainly doesn't care if Mayan dies in the refining God abyss, but she's determined to get the Tian Mo Qin. The Tian Mo Qin is now in its second stage of advancement. Once Mayan dies, the Tian Mo Qin will directly return to Mayan's knowledge sea. When the time comes, she won't be able to get anything. Lung Yuexia certainly won't allow the treasure that's already in her mouth to disappear just like that. She must obtain Jun Mayan's corpse and take out the Tian Mo Qin from her sea of consciousness. The five elements whip turns into dozens of whip shadows, twisting and winding, and rolls towards Mayan with lightning speed. Whether she wants to jump into the refining god, Abyss herself, or throw the Tion Emochin down, she can't escape from the five elements whip. Lung Yuexia's eyes hold a cold and contemptuous smile. Looking at the girl's frail figure shrouded by the whip shadows, it's like looking at an ant struggling on its deathbed. However, the next moment, Lung Yuexia suddenly widens her eyes, revealing an incredulous expression. Papa papa! The five elements whip falls, but Mayan's figure, who should have remained in place, disappears with a loud bang, like the moon in the water. Not good. Lung Yuexia has just realized something when a monstrous sword intent, like ice and fire, pours towards her. She quickly tries to retreat, but her body seems to be entangled by invisible threads, making her unable to budge for a while. This gap is actually very short, so short that it doesn't even last for a breath. But on the ever-changing battlefield, this breath is already enough to change the situation. Suddenly, the girl's beautiful face, drenched in sweat and blood, is very close. Immediately after, there's a severe pain in her abdomen, accompanied by scorching heat and cold. A whirlpool forms at her wound, frantically devouring her immortal energy. That's right, this whirlpool isn't actually devouring spiritual energy, but the immortal energy that she could hardly recover in the Xiojin continent. Lung Yuexia widens her eyes in horror, incredulously looking at the person in front of her. The girl's pale lips, without a trace of blood, slowly hooks up, and she says in a hoarse voice, "I have never used this move since I created it, because even I don't know what kind of price I have to pay to use it. However, to make you pay such a painful price, even if I die, it's worth it." The third move that she created from little martial uncle's blood slaughter sword array is called Mutual Destruction. Even if I die, I will drag you to hell. Bitch, go to hell. Lung Yuexia's face twisted as she furiously waved her palm. Mu Yin flew out like a kite with its string cut, flying straight to the top of the god refining abyss and falling down rapidly. Lung Yuexia had originally wanted to take out some medicinal pills to stabilize her injuries, but when she saw this scene, her expression immediately changed. She could no longer care about healing her injuries as she flew down the god-refining abyss at lightning speed. As he sped down, the five elements whip in his hand fiercely lashed out, wanting to catch up with Mayan. The speed of a Xian immortal was extremely fast, even though Lung Yuexia's strength was suppressed in the cultivation continent. But it still quickly catches up with the falling Mayan. The five elements whip winds and twists, coiling around Mayan's body. The surging river below was very close, but there was still a distance of about a foot between them. A relieved smile appeared on Lung Yuexia's face, but it soon turned into a malevolent and twisted hatred. "Bitch, do you want to die so easily after hurting me? Dream on." Lung Yuexia didn't appear. On the chest of the unconscious Mayan, a yellow, fluffy chick had drilled out at some unknown time. Its soft fur is wet from the rain, all sticking to its body. It looks like a pitiful bald chicken. Bookmarked for easier reading. Chapter 2378. His big round eyes are filled with anxiety, and he keeps calling out to Mayan. It's just that the sound of the refining god abyss below is too loud, covering its voice. Seeing the five elements whip coiled around Mayan, the little chick is both hateful and afraid. It's this thing that's hurting mommy. Huang Wang hates it. The little chick suddenly becomes bold, using its sharp beak to fiercely peck at the five elements whip twice. As a result, two bubbles of tears instantly appear in its round eyes. Though it hurts too much, this thing is so hard, Huang Wang can't peck it. Lung Yuexia feels that the five elements whip has completely wrapped around Mayan's body. Chuckling, she is about to pull her up and leave this frightening, refining god abyss. However, suddenly, she hears a slight thumping sound. Lung Yuexia subconsciously looks up and sees a huge rock falling straight down from the cliff. That rock should have fallen because of the battle between her and Mayan just now, causing the cliff to collapse. Lung Yuexia subconsciously moves sideways to make way. Her mind still hasn't realized what's happening. She hears a loud plop sound as a small mountain of rubble smashes into the refining god abyss, splashing up monstrous black waves. "Ea!" Lung Yuexia screams, no longer caring about Mayan. She lets go and quickly escapes. In the blink of an eye, she has already escaped to the top of the cliff. She looks down and sees that the parts of her body that have been splashed by the black water of the refining god abyss have long been badly mutilated. In several places, all the flesh has been corroded, revealing the eerie white bones. Extreme pain and fear make Lung Yuexia unable to stop trembling and moaning. She grits her teeth and looks down, only to see the billowing black water below. There's no sign of Mayan. Damn it, bastard, slut, letting her die so easily. There's also the Tian Mo Chin, a treasure that's even more powerful than a sacred object, and she didn't get it. Lung Yuexia ruthlessly lashes the whip on the cliff, gnashing her teeth and cursing. This action pulls at her wound, causing her face to twist in pain. Just at this time, the cliff under her feet once again makes a cracking sound, as if it's going to fall again. Lung Yuexia is scared out of her wits. She no longer cares about Mayan or Tian Mo Chin. She turns around and flies away. In any case, she has already eliminated this remnant of the Shun musicians. There's no more Jun Mayan in this world. Then, she can also use Lung Qingwan's strategy of stealing the sky and swapping the sun. What is the Tian Mo Chin? What about the Shin musicians? As long as she could obtain the polar domain, all the glory, splendor, wealth, and immortal blessings would belong to her. Lung Yuexia. The pitter-patter of rain did not stop. The black water in the god-refining abyss continued to surge. To cultivators, this place was as terrifying as a mountain of knives and a sea of fire. If it was possible, no living creature would want to get close to this place. Hence, no one discovered that there was a small hole on the cliff below the god-refining abyss. The deep end of the cave was connected to a spacious cave. At this moment, a small red head was poking out of the small hole. It looked around and carefully observed the top of the cliff. Little Phoenix happily said, "That old woman seems to have really left." Chirp, chirp, chirp. Little Inghua also clucked twice. Soon after, the two little ones immediately returned to Mayan's side. When he saw Mayan's current appearance, Little Phoenix's tears immediately flowed down. Chapter 2379. There's a lot of blood on Pretty Jiejia. She's not dead, is she? Boo-hoo-hoo, I don't want Pretty Jiejia to die. If Pretty Jiejia dies, little brother will be so sad. Shut up, stupid bird. A low voice coldly rings out. There's a youngster in red clothes in the cave, glaring fiercely at the crying Little Phoenix and Little Yellow Chick. Even if all of you die, Jun Mayan won't die. If you dare to say the word die again, I'll skin you all and roast you. The two little ones immediately huddle together, shivering, and look at the great demon king in fear. But Pretty Jiejia's injuries are really serious. How about I carry Pretty Jiejia to the Xiaoyao sect? Maybe the most beautiful junior master can save her. The veins on Qi Huang's forehead fiercely jump, and he grits his teeth. You mean if I can't save Jun Mayan, I still need that pretty boy to save her? Idiot bird, are you tired of living? Who? Little Phoenix shivers, not daring to speak anymore. However, when the arrogant and overbearing Qi Huang turns to look at Mayan, he's filled with irritation and worry. Perhaps he doesn't even realize that he's distressed. Mayan's injuries are really too serious. In addition to the injuries caused by Lung Yuexia, the black water of the refining god abyss has almost corroded most of her back. But the most serious is the consumption of her divine soul by the move, indiscriminate destruction. If she was at her peak, she might be able to hold on. But now, Qi Huang shakily stretches out his hand and touches Mayan's cheek. He feels a bone-chilling cold, so cold that his heart seems to be tightly clenched by something, and it's dragging him down a little. Jun Mayan, I won't let you die. He grits his teeth and spits out hoarsely. He slowly closes his eyes and is about to move. Suddenly, the void spirit ring on Mayan's finger emits a faint light once again. Just like when she was fighting with Lung Yuexia, the light once again invades Mayan's body, soaking through her flesh and bones. Mayan's injuries haven't healed, and she's not awake. However, a moment later, her entire spine suddenly emitted a faint jade-colored light. The next moment, a huge bright silver moon emerges from Mu Yan's body. Shi Huang's pupils constricted. He stopped what he was doing and murmured, "Immortal bones! She really has grown immortal bones." Xiuxing Continent. In the small world filled with boundless immortal energy, Han Yi and defeating armies, leading dozens of subordinates of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost-Slaying tribe, are quietly waiting. The people of the Ghost-Killing division were similar to defeating armies. Most of them were silent. The subordinates of the Crescent Moon tribe, on the other hand, were like Han Yi. At this time, they had been waiting for a long time and couldn't help but whisper to each other. The immortal energy in this small world is really too pure and thick. We've only been standing here for 2 hours, but it's already comparable to cultivating for a day outside. I heard that this place was personally built by the sovereign emperor. I wonder who it was prepared for? Not to mention the people of the Falling Moon tribe. Even the few taciturn people of the Ghost-Killing tribe couldn't help showing curious and jealous expressions. To have a god monarch personally create a small world. Moreover, they've specially mobilized the elites of the Ghost Murder Division and the Crescent Division, as well as Pejun and Han Yidaren's personal protection. Who in this world is qualified to receive such an honor? Han Yi turns his head and glances at his subordinates, who are timidly whispering. He chuckles, but doesn't say anything. Baidu search the UC Book League website, allowing you to experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2380. Defeating armies' expression didn't change at all. He just lowered his eyes and waited quietly. At this moment, the teleportation array at the entrance of the small world suddenly lit up. A tall figure slowly appeared as the light of the array disappeared. Everyone from the Ghost Killer tribe and Crescent Moon tribe knelt down and bowed. "Greetings, Emperor!" After paying their respects, everyone who has never had the courage to look directly at Dijun. Still, they can't help but be curious. They secretly used the corners of their eyes to size up Di Mingju's back. They had originally wanted to see what kind of person could make the Sovereign Emperor personally build the small world and have the elites of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe protect. However, with a single glance, everyone was dumbfounded, and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Is this person really their emperor? If he wasn't, then who else in the world could have such a handsome, godlike appearance and such a majestic aura of a monarch descending upon the world? However, if it was a sovereign emperor, why would their sovereign emperor be carrying a child in his arms? No. How could they not know that the celestial emperor, who had always kept himself away from strangers, knew how to carry a child? The only ones who are very calm and collected are Han Yi and defeating armies. After the two pay their respects to Di Mingju, they turn towards Xiao Bao and bow with clasped hands. "Greetings, little master." Hiss! Someone sucked in a breath of cold air. Bang! Someone's weapon fell to the ground and hit his foot, but he didn't notice it at all. Wait a minute. Did they have tinnitus just now? Was he hallucinating? What are Han Yi and Paju and Darren calling that baby for? Young master. Could it be that this kid was the emperor's child? This conjecture was too shocking and horrifying. These people don't even care about the reverence they have for Di Mingju. Each and every one of them looked straight at Di Mingju, then at Xiao Bao. The little doll was only about 5 or 6 years old. However, she had an exquisite and beautiful face that made people want to scream. One could imagine how handsome he would be when he grew up. Those big ice blue eyes were practically carved from the same mold as the emperor. Most importantly, this little boy exuded a cold and noble aura. That kind of natural king made people want to submit to him. This sort of dignity and bearing was exactly the same as an imperial monarch. The boy's appearance was actually not similar to the emperor's. Di Mingju's appearance leans towards being robust and graceful. On the other hand, Xiao Bao's appearance was 70% similar to Mu Yan's, so he was somewhat beautiful and elegant. However, the people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe looked back and forth between the two of them, feeling that they were becoming more and more similar. Especially Di Mingju's familiar and matter-of-fact attitude as he carried Xiao Bao. No one could doubt that he was Xiao Bao's biological father. Gulp. Many people could not help but swallow their saliva. The suspicion in his heart grew wildly like weeds. Could it be that this little kid really has the bloodline of the emperor? Was he really the future young master of the polar domain? But the question is, when did you give birth to an heir outside behind our backs? In the midst of everyone's confusion, Di Mingju loosens his grip and puts Xiao Bao down from his arms. But she still held his little hand and walked slowly to the front of everyone from the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe. She said coldly, "From now on, he will be the master you will serve and protect. Jun Machin." Jun Machin? Surnamed Jun? Not surnamed M.O.? Could it be that they guessed wrong? Baidu search the UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of them updated in seconds. Chapter 2381. In the Polar Domain, Di was the only surname of the Polar Domain monarch. In other words, only those who had become the king of the Polar Domain had the qualifications to use the surname Di. And Di Mingju's family is actually surnamed M.O. Just like M.O. Rufeng, who had rebelled against his superiors at that time. He was Di Mingju's cousin. And this child's surname is Jun, not M.O. Does this mean that he doesn't have the bloodline of the monarch? However, even though this kid's surname was Jun, his name had the word Mo in it. This made the people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe dizzy. Could it be that the woman was too domineering and forced the young master to take his mother's surname? But could anyone in this world be stronger than their imperial emperor? Di Mingju looks at their silly appearance and slightly narrows his eyes. Didn't you hear what Benjun said? Everyone shuddered and hurriedly knelt on the ground. Greetings, young master. Xiao Bao raises his head, looking at Di Mingju. Her icy blue eyes were clear and transparent, without much emotion. But Di Mingju still sees a trace of nervousness in his eyes. Jun Shangduran, who has never understood how to comfort people, hesitates for a moment, but still reaches out and gently rubs his head. They're here to protect you, to listen to your orders, no need to mind. Xiao Bao's straight little back loosens. He squeezes Di Mingju's hand and softly says, "Xiao Bao understands, Daddy." Daddy. As expected, this little boy is the emperor's son. The people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe screamed in their hearts. Only Han Yi chuckles. He knows the truth, but he won't say it. Let them think that Xiao Bao is Jun Shang's biological son, because the little master was the most qualified person in this world to become the successor of the Polar Domain and was also worthy of their loyalty. Defeating armies' gaze similarly sweeps over Di Mingju and Xiao Bao, but he tightens his lips. The doubts and thoughts in his eyes were faintly discernible. Di Mingju gives a few simple instructions, then leads Xiao Bao into the depths of the secret territory. Looking at the backs of the two leaving, the Ghost Killer Division members were still able to control themselves and did not talk about their masters behind their backs. The people of Falling Moon tribe were whispering even more fervently than before. Jun Machin, is this really the bloodline of an imperial monarch? But isn't the celestial emperor never close to women? Recently, the emperor frequently went to the cultivation continent. I'm guessing that the emperor, little master's mother, should be from the cultivation continent. TSK, cultivation continent? How can such a person be worthy of the emperor? Isn't the emperor's decision too hasty? Even if he really is the emperor's bloodline, isn't it too hasty to directly make him the successor of the Polar Domain? Indeed, The Polar Domain's sovereign emperor is definitely someone with outstanding talent. I wonder what that woman's identity is and how talented is she? But no matter how outstanding she was, she couldn't compare to the immortal fairy of the Shioshin continent. This child's talent must have been hindered by his mother. I'm afraid he won't be outstanding. Just wait and see. The trials of this small world were personally set up by the Empyrean Lord. I've checked it out. Even 5th stage false immortals with exceptional aptitude wouldn't be able to pass the first stage even after spending 7 days. This baby will take at least a month. This is only the first trial. There are a total of 9 trials in the pocket dimension, and each one is harder than the last. At the 9th round, even a peak pseudo-immortal would need a year and a half to pass it. Alas, then wouldn't this baby not necessarily be able to get out in 10 years? Don't tell me we have to accompany him in there for 10 years. Hani turns his head and coldly glances at the subordinate who just spoke. Baidu search the UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2382. He noted down every single person who had spoken ill of Xiao Bao just now. He was not in a hurry to settle the score. It was better to wait for Little Master to slap their faces first, then teach these gossipers a harsh lesson. It seemed that his control over the Falling Moon tribe was too lax. Otherwise, why didn't anyone from the Ghost Assassination Division speak nonsense? These people under him didn't even have the slightest bit of insight. How dare they say that the Little Master's talent was mediocre? What's wrong with the immortal fairy from the Shioshin continent? How could he compare to that evildoer Miss June? Which immortal fairy could advance to the peak of the Golden Core realm from a mortal with no spirit power in just a year? Moreover, she also possesses the one and only moon's spiritual root that is qualified to match with Jun Shang. In less than 3 days, the Little Master will definitely slap their faces. He would let them know what was truly amazing. However, Han didn't have to wait for 3 days. Only 24 hours passed. In the center of the small world, a beam of light suddenly shot into the sky and then exploded like fireworks. A portion of the immortal chi in the small world had already been consumed. However, after the fireworks exploded, they were instantly replenished. It was even purer and denser than before. The people of the Falling Moon tribe stared at the exploding vision as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Even the people from the Ghost Killer Division could not help but widen their eyes, revealing a horrified expression. Han Yi and Pejun are shocked at first. Then they have an as expected expression on their faces. The corners of Han Ye's mouth even curl up into a carefree smile. The fireworks in the sky slowly dissipated. The light beside the teleportation array lit up, and a small figure slowly appeared. There was not the slightest bit of expression on his handsome and exquisite little face, but it made people feel fearful and respectful for no reason. Han Yi smiles and greets him. "Little Master, do you need a rest?" Xiao Bao looked around, and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face. "Daddy is not here." Han Yi promptly says, "There's an urgent matter that needs to be dealt with in the polar domain. Jun Shang will leave first." However, Jun Shang would receive the news of the Little Master passing the first test at the first moment. I believe that Jun Shang will definitely be happy for Little Master. Xiao Bao nodded expressionlessly. Her long eyelashes drooped, concealing the emotions in her eyes. Not only did he want his father to know, but he also wanted his mother to know. If Niangqin knew that he passed, she would definitely hug him and kiss his face. Han Yi and Xiao Bao's conversation is light and breezy, but the people of the Falling Moon tribe are in a complete mess. He passed the stage. He actually passed the first test. How is this possible? Wasn't this kid just a 4th stage false immortal? Wasn't she only 5 or 6 years old? How did he manage to pass the first test in just 24 hours? Han Yi takes out an elixir and hands it to Xiao Bao. "Little Master, this elixir was prepared for you by Dijun. Please take it and cultivate for a period of time, raise your realm, and then try the second test." Xiao Bao had no objections. After consuming the medicinal pill, he found a place with dense, immortal energy and sat down cross-legged. Han Yi turns to look at the people of the Falling Moon tribe and coldly says, "Everyone of the Falling Moon tribe, listen to my order. After leaving the small world, go to the purgatory pool to receive your punishment for a month. Otherwise, don't ever appear in front of Little Master again." The people of the Falling Moon tribe shivered and hurriedly knelt on the ground. "We are willing to go to the purgatory pool to receive punishment." The purgatory pool was terrifying, but telling them not to appear in front of Little Mistress? What a joke! Little Master's talent was terrifying to such an extent, and he was so doted on by the Celestial Emperor. If they didn't eagerly latch onto his thighs in advance, they would simply be idiots. As Xiao Bao is sitting cross-legged in meditation, his body suddenly trembles violently. He abruptly opens his eyes, and his big eyes reveal a panic-stricken emotion. He loudly shouts, "Niang Qin!" Chapter 2383. Little Master, what's wrong? Han Yi is startled and promptly rushes over. But Xiao Bao pulls on his sleeve. Mother is injured. She's in great pain. I want to go to the cultivation continent. I want to find my mother. Han Yi is startled, his complexion greatly changing. Miss June is injured? It can't be. If it was just an ordinary injury, the Little Master would definitely not be so flustered. In the Xiaoxin continent, there are very few people who have very special bloodlines. Towards those who were closest to him, or those who were directly related to him by blood, he would have a unique feeling. However, this kind of feeling didn't happen all the time. It would only be triggered when the other party's life was truly in danger. That's why Han Yi isn't surprised by Xiao Bao's mother-son connection reaction. However, he found it strange that Miss June was so powerful. In the cultivation continent, how could there be someone who could put her in such a desperate situation so easily? What's more, Miss June has, just as this thought crossed his mind, Little Treasure pushed him away and ran toward the teleportation formation. Han Yi jumps in fright and promptly turns his head. "Little Master, you can't." However, Little Treasure was extremely fast. At some point, the Bixie sword was already under his feet. The fat rabbit also jumped out silently and stood beside him to protect him. The people of the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe subconsciously wanted to stop it, but they didn't expect that the evil warding sword would evade them with its strange movements. Xiao Bao was about to rush into the teleportation array. Suddenly, the small body was picked up. Defeating Armies looked at Xiao Bao with a cold and indifferent expression, and he said in a low voice, "Young Master, the Lord has ordered that you can't leave this small world before passing the first round of the test." Xiao Bao struggled with all his might as he glared at Defeating Armies with bloodshot eyes. "Let me go. I'm going to look for Mother." Defeating Armies was stunned by the pair of icy blue eyes that were inches away from him. In that brief moment of hesitation, Little Treasure struck out with his palm. This palm didn't want to injure Defeating Armies, but wisps of precisely controlled immortal power seeped into Defeating Armies' blood vessels. This made him slightly loosen his grip on Lil Bao. As soon as he regained his freedom, Xiao Bao immediately ran toward the teleportation array. Defeating Armies, on the other hand, stood there in a daze, clutching the acupuncture point on his body that had been attacked. "Pejuan, what are you doing?" He actually let the Little Master go. Seeing that Xiao Bao has already rushed into the transmission array, Han Yi is so frightened that he recklessly pounces over. But the fat rabbit and Bai Xia were faster than him. The rabbit and the sword, who were usually incompatible like water and fire, were now cooperating with each other with great rapport. One sweeps over, tripping Han Ye's foot. The other's body suddenly enlarges, directly pouncing on Han Ye's face, covering his face. No matter what, he was not allowed to hinder Xiao Bao. "Stupid rabbit, Bai Xia, what are you doing?" "Jun Shang has ordered, Little Master." "Roar!" The fat rabbit roared angrily. Bai Xia shouted, "I don't care. I only know that this is the order from the young master. Besides, it's natural for a mother and son to be connected by heart. No one has the right to stop them." The light of the teleportation formation grew brighter and brighter. and Xiao Bao's figure slowly disappeared. The little hands hanging by her side clenched into fists. "Mother, wait for me. Xiao Bao will go back to help you." However, the feeling of weightlessness from the teleportation had yet to arrive. Little Bao was suddenly pulled into a wide embrace and lifted high into the air. Unlike when he was stopped by defeating armies, Xiao Bao sensed a familiar aura, and his eyes immediately turned red. Chapter 2384. The panic and grievance in his heart can no longer be suppressed. "Daddy, Nyangqin." Xiao Bao wants to save Nyangqin. Xiao Bao doesn't want Nyangqin to die. "Don't cry." Di Mingju's voice is low and cold, a bit hoarse. "Mine is fine." "Not at all." The childish voice shouts with a sobbing tone. "I feel it. Nyangqin is in great pain. I want to go to the Xiojin continent to find Nyangqin." Di Mingju's face suddenly sinks, and he puts him down. "Junmachin, do you remember what you promised me before coming to the Xiojin continent? If you don't pass the first round of assessment, you will never leave the small world. If you want to go back now, you can. Benjun will take you back. But what can you do for your Nyangqin when you go back? Will you protect her, or become a burden that will put her in more danger?" Xiao Bao's complexion turns deathly pale in a split second, and his little body trembles slightly. He grabs Di Mingju's lapel and softly says in a sobbing voice, "Daddy, is Nyangqin really all right? Xiao Bao will be good and won't leave the small world. Can you go save Nyangqin?" Di Mingju clenches his hands hanging by his side and slowly crouches down to wipe the tears off his face. "Don't cry. Mine has passed through the crisis of life and death and advanced to the nascent soul stage. She's completely fine and even more powerful than before." Xiao Bao jerks his head up, his teary eyes looking at Di Mingju. "Really? Nyangqin is really all right." Di Mingju, "If you don't believe me, you can feel it yourself." Xiao Bao stares blankly, and he touches his chest with his little hand. That kind of piercing fear and dread really disappears. His big eyes brighten up. "Nyangqin is all right. She also advanced, and is even more powerful than before." Di Mingju nods. "Now, do you still want to leave the small world and return to the Xiojin continent?" Xiao Bao solemnly shakes his head, his little hands clenching into fists. "Daddy, Xiao Bao won't go back. Nyangqin is so powerful. Xiao Bao must also become more powerful and not drag Nyangqin down." Saying that, he runs to the immortal medicine room on the side, sits down cross-legged, and begins cultivating. Bai Xie and the fat rabbit see this, and they no longer bother Han Yi and obediently return to Xiao Bao's space. Di Mingju calmly looks at the little figure inside the immortal medicine, a touch of gentleness flashing through his eyes. The simulated sunlight in the small world fell on his body, but it reflected his slightly pale face. "Jun Shang," Han Yi says nervously. "Are you okay? Miss Jun, are you going to—" Di Mingju waves his hand, faintly saying, "Look after Xiao Bao. If there's anything, inform Benjun." "Understood." Di Mingju's figure slowly disappears. After a long time, Lil Treasure opened his eyes and looked at the empty teleportation formation, and a depressed expression appeared on his little face. The fat rabbit burrowed into his arms and gently rubbed against him. The Bishia sword also buzzed twice and stuck close to his body. Xiao Bao muttered in a low voice, "Xiao Bao is completely useless. But doesn't Daddy care about Mommy?" "Little Master, you're wrong." Han Ye's voice suddenly comes from not too far away. "Jun Shang isn't going to the Xiojin continent to see Miss Jun because the Netherworld Realm and the Devil Realm have suddenly assembled a large army, stopping at the border of the Polar Domain. As the ruler of the Polar Domain, Jun Shang is unable to disregard the lives and deaths of the millions of people in the Polar Domain and only care about himself. This is the honor and responsibility that cannot be avoided as the ruler of the Polar Domain." That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.